Keep spawning culture. Hey y'all, Andrew Reed with the MushRune Cast, Mossy Creek Mushrooms, and the Mycology project now. Wow, I'm a man of many hats. Who knew? Samantha, as always, will be joining us very shortly. She was actually just here, but we have an unboxing that we want to do at some point during the show. So, oh man, that echo is hurting me. So anyways, she'll be back here in just a moment with that box, but it's with our partners, Cell Treat, you know, who we had on last week. All right, that should help. She took her headset off and it was just under the mic and was just driving me crazy. But welcome to everybody. As always, I'm going to just ramble for a few minutes as we get people on. If you are joining us on Instagram Live, please remember that I cannot see or hear you or anything. So as far as getting somebody from Instagram's question answered in a timely manner, please come over to YouTube or X and watch us on those platforms. That way, it will bring you into our chat. You are more likely to get your question answered. You're more likely to get it answered quickly, that kind of thing. So, what's up, everybody? Hello from KCMO. I assume that's Kansas City, Missouri, right? Oh, good. I thought I was late. Howdy, y'all. Hey, Mushroom Man Dan. The Scottish man. Missed the last one. I'll be here this time with annoying questions. John, you are always welcome for questions. As I've said before, I farm you guys for content. So I need you guys to ask questions. Hello, Frank Jones. You missed it. You missed what? You didn't miss this? Or you missed last week? You did miss last week. Hey, good to see you, Andrew. Well, good to see you too, Stephen. And future Sam will be present Sam shortly. Black Hills. That's a good name. Hello from South Dakota. I think, was it South Dakota or North Dakota? Samantha went up and stayed with one of the tribes up there years and years ago. Can't remember who. That was like high school. But anyways, I'm glad to have you guys on. As you know, we'll here shortly have Josh of the Fungi Florist on. He'll be joining us here in just, I don't know, about 10 minutes or so. And I'm really excited to talk to Josh. He's just started a YouTube channel, which I think is a great idea for him. But anyone who's seen his work on Instagram, which we will go over here live, knows that Josh is the man when it comes to growing some pretty crazy reishi bonsai. Some artwork, some living artwork. Oh, future Sam is about to be present Sam. Just so you guys remember, because that is a Cell Treat box, and they sent us a little thing of goodies with some samples and such. So we will go over some of that. Please just remember, if you're ordering plastic labware, dishes, plates, etc., vacuum filters for your extracts. My goodness, so many more things. Bioreactors. They sent me a bunch of bioreaction tubes to play with because I've got some ideas on that. And they have a code with us, Mossy 2025. That's all caps, MOSSY 2025 for 25% off your Petri dishes, culture tubes, vacuum filters, etc. Whatever else you've got. So please, go support those guys. They're big supporters of what we're doing here, and we just announced them last week. So it's really cool. They are very interested in helping the Mycologium along, and some of the citizen science aspects is what we're doing as well. So glad to catch you here live. Well, missed your last one. I'm in the lab the next several hours, so I'll be around for this one. Much love. Absolutely, Trevor. Glad to have you. Joel, shout out from Franklin, Tennessee. He's just right down the road. High Fee Hill. Hope y'all are doing well. Joel, I'm doing excellent. How are you doing, Samantha?
Doing okay.
Good. Samantha's been on deliveries today, and then to go pick up her daughter today, and then to grab me some coffee today. So she's kind of been on the road a lot. And I don't know about you guys, but if I've been on the road a lot, I'm usually in a bad mood. And somehow she's in a good mood. I don't get it. I'm glad. Mr. and Mrs. Mossy is now present. Welcome to the Fungus Show, folks. Absolutely. Welcome to the Fungus Show. It is kind of weird to have a show all about fungus, isn't it? Also, right now, bioprospecting season is upon us. In fact, Samantha saw many mushrooms on the way here. Maybe that's why she's in a good mood. She got to hang out by the creek. Talk about it.
You okay? Yeah, so on the way back home, definitely saw a bunch of stuff popping with the cold weather and the rain and everything else that's been coming in. So I took video and pictures, and something that we always do is whenever we find something, we'll turn on our GPS location so that we can see where it is later on. And then we'll take a picture of the environment as a whole. And then we'll take a picture of the mushroom underside, top side, and then we'll sample like any notes that we have as far as where it was found. And then, of course, you have all the metadata on the picture itself. So the weather, the date, all of the humidity, all of that good stuff is on there. So it's really neat. So I took a lot of video and brought it back for Andrew just to see where I found it. It was right slap dab in the middle of a stream, so and I didn't have muck boots or anything. And I was like, well, if I had a fishing net and a pole, I could just like poke it and it would drop down and I could catch it, but I didn't.
I would have just dropped trowel and waded in, but
yeah, you would. I don't know. I guess I have early childhood training on keeping my clothes pristine if I'm able. But yeah,
I've been a water dog all my life, and I've got many nicknames. I have been called Awesome Possum. I used to be called Possum back when I was in college. My bike was awesome, so it was Awesome Possum. But I don't know why that stuck, but that stuck for a while. A lot of my friends call me Swamp Monster or Swamp Thing or Swampy or Peggy because, you know, when you walk in the water, you walk with a Peggy look. Goodness. And then, of course, now everybody calls me Mossy. So I get all kinds of weird nicknames. But I say this because Swamp Monster, Swamp Thing, blah, 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 was all about how I just love the water. I'm a big wetlands ecosystem person. In fact, that's probably, as many of you guys know, aquaculture was what I was going to go into at some point. So,
well, and something else with the possum kind of being slow. Very. I'm not saying that you're slow.
No. I was just going to tell you. I've got news I want to tell you. You go ahead and say it, and then I'll.
But just being attentive to what's happening on the ground, right? All the little tiny details. The little Andrew. Everybody will be forging ahead, and Andrew will be back there looking at all the little flowers and bugs and insects and stuff.
You talking about my old nickname? Because my oldest nickname is Drooper. Everyone used to call me Drooper because I used to always walk with a droop, and of course Drew. So Drooper. Because I was always following around behind my gramps or my dad, and I would always look at everything on the ground because I was more interested in the little ants and the little mosses and all that kind of stuff. It's weird. Looking back on it, it's obvious I would have been into mushrooms. But for some reason, I never realized I was into mushrooms until someone made it plain to me I was into mushrooms. But Michael Prestito, you're blurry. Are you in a grow bag? We shouldn't be blurry. We should be crystal clear because I'm on a cinema camera right now. So that's probably your YouTube settings. You can go into your little gearbox down there in the bottom somewhere if you're on your computer. But you can take your little gearbox there and click it for your video quality, and you can change that. If you up it, you can get a better
Your
image.
frames per minute might be low.
Indeed. Samanda's checking us out right now, but we're crystal clear on her display.
I went into an incognito tab. It's crystal clear on YouTube and on the StreamYard as well. So I don't know.
John said, "I'm curious as to if Vikings actually eat mushrooms." Well, we do know that they ate mushrooms, but we don't know a lot about it. The problem with mushroom culture is that unless somebody like the Mayans took the time to carve something in stone, or the Egyptians, then it probably there's not much left. I really hate the whole idea of, like, I don't know, politically correct stuff on colonialism and all that kind of stuff. But that said, colonialism did a really good job of wiping out verbal cultures. So, I mean, I do know that the Cherokee, which told stories and passed them down, did discuss, was it Diwali? Diwali, I think, is what Jackie said that the mushroom was called, but there are stories about mushroom in the Cherokee culture and some of the other native tribes I know. But, as for like the Vikings, we don't really have hardly any. I mean, when they all converted to Christianity is the nice way to put it. Pretty much we didn't hear much about that kind of stuff. So we do know that they ate them, but we don't know anything about how that actually worked. So, not yet. Joe Love said, speaking of bioprospecting, I've got a few local oyster varieties, some collected in summer, some in winter. Do you guys typically find pulmonaris in the summer and australis in the winter? That is the typical spikes that you see on iNaturalist around us, and that is typically what we find. For instance, the Mossy Creek oyster that we saw on our website is a local one found on a creek here in the middle of summer. It's actually a great warm weather strain. But I am pretty positive it's a pulmonarius, but not 100%.
It actually took us 2 tries to get that one, because the first time we tried, it had rained, and then we were really, really busy, and then I forgot what happened, but we ended up getting out and about a little later, and it was so hot that the mushrooms had dehydrated on the log on the stump. And whenever you tried to take a cloning tissue sample of it, it did not take. And so we had to wait till it rained again to get it, which was funny.
There's a lot of things that can cause some strains to be difficult to harvest from the wild. But yeah, Joel, and if you've got those of course, the Mycologium, we'll take them and swap them out. We're running the Mycologium pretty hard now. It's basically my goal for the next 2 years is to turn the Mycologium into a real thing. And by that, I mean not just a word of mouth thing, but something that is advertised, something that has people working for it, a network of individuals testing. We've got a lot of stuff. We got big plans for the Mycologium. So
lots of collaboration too, which I am stoked about.
Oh, me too. Me too.
There's nothing quite like having a gathered talent working toward the same goal, and it makes me so excited.
Oh, absolutely. I am trying to find it. I will say really quick, we've got about a couple of minutes before I'm going to bring Josh on.
Speaking of talented.
Speaking of talented.
And I called you talented too.
Oh. So we have right here, boom, check that out. We now have the Mycologium page is up. So with our submission protocols for agar, plate, liquid culture, slant culture, we're taking all 3 of those. We also take fresh wild mushrooms. Do not just send me swabs of stuff, guys, unless you have reached out to us first. We do talk about that, how we will, on a case-by-case basis, take things like swabs. But like swabs, sometimes I'll take spore prints. Those tend to be a little bit cleaner. But right here, you can see that we've got some highly recommended options. So the iNaturalist integration, which, and of course, to do the Ohio Mushroom DNA Lab, you must do the iNaturalist, because they won't do it without an iNaturalist listing. But both of those are highly recommended. And then we have the Culture Exchange, where if you want to request a trade, directions on how to do that, that page is now live. And again, you just go to mossycreekmushrooms.com, come up here to the top and hit trade, and that takes you to the Mycologium. So that is our quote-unquote trade program. And this is primarily for anything wild that you guys collected, or excuse me.
Gracious, babe.
I'm having a hard time today. You're gonna have to do a lot of talking.
That's okay. I can do it.
I know you can. Excuse me for the choate snot suck, as people call it, as my mom calls it. The choate's my father's mother's maiden family, but we all have those sinus issues. But anyways, whole point is to get you guys integrated. We are now an official. Mycologium is now officially being sponsored by Moss Creek Mushrooms and being run by us. So it's a really good program for getting us some strange genetics and working in some citizen science while also helping out potential commercial applications. We also have, it should be published today. I didn't see it on there just yet, so I'll send a message to Tobias here in a minute, our web admin. By the way, if you guys need websites built, I highly recommend Tobias. So if you guys need website help, just email us. And he has currently been building our website out a piece at a time, and I'm pretty happy with him. So if I'm happy with him, you'll probably be. Anyways, he's building out our subscription page, where we're about to start offering our own Culture of the Month Club, which will be how people can get things from the Mycologium other than just trade. Because we'll have certain ones like RDT and 2, which we'll discuss here in a little bit with Josh, or here in just a moment. We'll have him on. And then like the Appalachian and Enoki, both of those things will be coming through those are like commercially strains that we have commercial applications that have been bioprospected. So I guess without further ado, I'm going to bring Josh on as soon as I can figure out how to stop sharing this thing. All right. 3, 2, 1. What's up, Josh? Oh, you're going to unmute yourself. There you go.
All right, cool. What's going on?
Not much, Josh. Welcome. Thanks for coming on here with us.
Yep. Thanks for having me.
Your background is badass.
Yeah.
That's really crazy. We're gonna have a lot of questions, so hopefully you don't mind answering a lot about some of the crazy stuff. I do have your Instagram pulled up here, which we'll get into in just a moment. But I'm wondering what got you into reishi in the first place? Or I don't know. Did you start with reishi, or did you just work your way into that later?
It was when I thought I was going to do gourmets. It was one of the original ones, because I knew in my research that it was a functional mushroom, had medicinal benefits. So it was just one that I wanted to grow along with the gourmets. But I really didn't know anything about it.
Yeah.
Until I did that first grow. And it didn't. I still have the originals. They didn't look pretty at all. But I just noticed them growing towards the light just very slightly, because this was in a different environment. It was in a high oxygen, fresh air exchange environment. So it wasn't growing like I do now. But I just noticed it enough. I'm like, whoa, what is this? And I hadn't heard of it before until then I started doing some research. I'm like, oh. So
yeah, there is a few. The first introduction I ever had to that kind of thing, the living artwork, is fungi floor, or not fungi florist, terrestrial fungi. There we go.
Yeah.
Ryan was the first introduction I had to that, though. He seemed like he stopped doing it as much and went to cordyceps.
Mm-hmm.
And then I hadn't really seen a lot of other people doing it. But I do know that, occasionally I'll see a piece, but I've not seen as many people put out as much work as you've put out. So
yeah, once that's one of my things. Like, I don't get into a lot of things, but if I'm into something, I'm into it on another level.
Obsessive about it.
Yeah.
Me too.
And that can be a good thing if you can harness it and use it positively. I wasn't always that way.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, me too. Me too.
So, yeah.
I've definitely had a lot of hobbies over the years that we've spent money on, and then I just was like, yeah, this doesn't interest me anymore. So
yeah,
And then mushrooms hit and mushrooms stuck.
Yeah, some of that is required to figure out what you really like. You know, I mean, it is. You have to try a bunch of different things and see where you end up. There's no way I could have got to where I'm at just by deciding, oh, I want to grow mushroom art. I mean, it was just a weird path that got me here. I can't even believe it. I mean, it's like mind blowing to me.
Oh yeah. I mean, well, it's weird, man. I got hit by the bug, and as I was saying earlier in the show, like if you look at the things I've been interested in my entire life, it's obvious. Like mushrooms are the obvious thing, but then for some reason it wasn't obvious to me that I would really be into mushrooms until, I don't know, I got introduced to it via really, I think it was like 6 Ways Mushrooms Can Help Save the World by Paul Stamets, that little video that he did, like a TED Talk or something. And then all of a sudden I was just like, oh, that's interesting. And then I grew my first one. And when I grew my first one, I was hooked.
Yeah.
They looked awful.
Once I did that first process, I was hooked. I didn't immediately jump to the gourmet or think of it being a business at that point. Originally, it was just growing medicine. I needed access to the medicine at that time. And so that's how I got started. The gourmet idea came a couple of years later when that mushroom obsession never left, and it just kept coming back to me.
Yeah, I could see that.
Now, you have said 2 things that have caught my attention. Also, just how humble you are from the get-go. Everybody was like, your wall, this is amazing. And you're like, yeah. You know? But you had mentioned that it was kind of a long roundabout story of how you got into it. And then just now, you mentioned you needed the medicine part. Is that something that you want to go into, or?
Yeah, I mean, I talk about it on a little bit on my the YouTube video that I dropped today. But
okay.
Yeah, I spent so many years
I'll have to link that.
Following kind of the path that I was handed. Go to school, get a job, a career, and all that, and I did that.
Most of us.
And it led me to being just very unfulfilled. I mean, I knew something was different inside of me, but I'm sitting at a desk all day rotting away. So alcohol was kind of like a crutch for a while. And at my lowest point, that's when I reached out to mushrooms, because I didn't know what else to do, really. And that's when you started seeing like some documentaries and different things, studies of what it's done for like depression and anxiety and PTSD and things like that. And I was desperate, so I did that with the actives, and yeah, that was life changing. Soon after that, I quit drinking, and then the journey started.
It's amazing how many times I've heard that same story in a way, like just different variations of it. It's kind of interesting how I don't know, almost predictable the outcome is. Like I don't know. I've heard a lot of people that have struggled with alcohol ended up taking mushrooms, and then we're just like, oh, how about that? Like I don't actually feel the need anymore, or it's not as hard to fight the need or whatnot. I did pull up your YouTube channel, which I see the one video. You guys, he's got a brand new channel. So, if you will please, I was going to say, go give him some love. Go hit the subscription. And hopefully we'll get to see some other cool artwork coming through that channel.
Definitely. Some growing videos. I'm going to be videoing some experiments. And I never know what's going to come into my head. So I don't know how crazy it'll get. But I do want to focus on more challenging, pushing the limits a little more type of stuff. So if I can make the content creation successful and I can divert the time to doing this stuff, that's what I really want to do. I'm running out of room for a million small pieces.
It looks like it.
I was gonna say, you don't say.
That's just one wall. My whole house. I mean, if I turn the camera around, my whole rest of my living room is packed too. So
That's awesome.
and the rest of my
I'm so
house.
stoked. Like I can't wait to see what you're coming up with. Like I follow you on Instagram as well, and it's always a joy whenever I see you pop across my feed because I'm like, what is he into now? Like just behind you, you have a mold of a lion's head, and for a split second, especially against all the red and the orange and like the maroon, I thought it was an actual lion's mane, but it's a lion's head mold.
Where? Oh, I see it there.
Right
Okay.
there.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Wow.
That's awesome.
Interesting. Okay. So, quick question. How sterile do you have to be to do some of this? Because I've wondered about growing in molds, and I see the skull. What is that above your shoulder there? Yep, right there. Yep. It'll get weird on the camera too.
Yeah.
Everything's flipped.
You have to be sterile in the lab, but once you get, usually once I put it in the mold, it's already colonized in the bag for maybe like 7 to 10 days. There's a very fine line. You want it colonized, but not too much where it starts to clump up.
Right.
Or it gets too difficult to break up. So there's a small window that I find is perfect to load the mold, and then usually everything's strong enough at that point to fight off any contamination.
So you're taking previously grown in sawdust and packing that into a mold. You're not actually putting sawdust and then inoculating that sawdust in a non-sterile space. It's already grown.
I'm making my normal fruiting blocks as normal, colonizing it for maybe a week to 10 days, and then breaking it up and then putting it in the mold.
Okay.
That just gives it the best chance of fighting off anything. I usually don't have any. If your grain's clean, you shouldn't have any problem at that point.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, that's the way I do it. Now, as far as everything needs to be sterile to that point, but in the grow tent, when you're growing some of these for months at a time, you're not going to achieve these results without there being some stuff popping up.
Right.
Trike is usually what you see. It's just so common everywhere anyway.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
But yeah, just there's things. I mean, you just have to keep things as clean as you can and stuff. But it's going to happen. You're not going to grow a reishi block outside of the bag in the environment that's required, because kind of the moist, humid, nasty environment that the stuff you don't want thrives in, that's where the best grows happen in. So it's always pushing the limits on it. Sometimes you push too far.
That's fair enough.
I throw out blocks sometimes. It
happens, yeah.
It happens. But no, you're not going to do what I do unless you're growing strictly in the bag.
Right.
Or in some kind of sterile environment. And plus I grow perpetually because I get better grows when I can harvest and then put a bunch of new blocks in and keep that CO2 up. So it's not like if I was growing gourmets. It's not the same.
So you're doing it more in like successive waves?
It's just I keep my tents full if I can, and as blocks come out, blocks go in.
Gotcha. Okay.
That's because that's how I don't have any equipment. My mushrooms are my equipment. So my humidity, my CO2, temperature, everything comes from my blocks. So I kind of let them create the environment, and then I can adjust.
Yeah.
And certain species need more, like black reishi. It definitely thrives in the more moist, higher CO2, nastier environment.
Interesting. Kind of
more
swampy.
blocks. So like if I need to up the CO2 in a tent, I can add a few black reishi blocks, and that helps. I don't know if they put off more CO2, but it definitely seems like it, and they like it. So yeah, it's just I strictly use the mushrooms to create my environments. Really,
it's actually something that I tried with the RDTN2. Was I had it and I got a couple of Martha grows over there, and I just put it in the Martha tent, and I was surprised at how good I got results without any humidification. I mean, I had zero airflow,
Yeah.
but I got these dense pillars that that just looked amazing. So,
Yeah.
in fact, I showed somebody. I think it may have been on the show, and somebody said, "Oh my gosh, those look like pillars out of like the dwarven realm of Moria or whatever." And I was like, "Oh man, that'd be a good name replacement for that strain, is dwarven pillars."
I love growing that strain. It's and I haven't even done a whole lot of experimenting. I have a way I like to do things. The first grow is usually pretty standard. I just put them in the tent and watch them so I can learn what they do.
Mm.
And then usually subsequent grows, I like to see how they grow out of a smaller hole, because not all species do well.
Mm-hmm.
And then what was the other thing? I lost my train of thought.
It's easy.
Yeah, it'll come back.
I do that all the time. We do have a question from, it's Jacob Wolves from Mongolia. He said, what is your go-to substrate protein content or go-to mix?
My go-to is hardwood fuel pellets, usually oak. That's what I usually come by. And then I supplement with Timothy grass pellets.
Okay.
So wheat bran also works, but it's more expensive, and I don't like dealing with it because it's
Flaky.
yeah, powdery and
Yeah.
it's in the bags. And
I like pellets better. And so we tried alfalfa pellets and Timothy pellets one time, but I think that we just had the ratios way off because we never did get good results. But I've heard people using like more like 10% Timothy to like 90% hardwood or something like that.
Yeah, I'm at 15 is about
Okay.
where I'm at. I've tried more, but I didn't notice any real benefits. So
in fact, when I go a little too heavy, I either get no fruiting at all or end up getting like weird fruits, like weird mutant fruits.
There's always, I mean, people look at my grows and I think they don't understand that there is failure involved too. It's if I load
You're just
up
so prolific.
Yeah, I mean, and some of it I know is going to happen because I need to if I need to up the CO2 and humidity, I'll overpack a tent knowing that it's going to create some hot spots of, mustiness. But I'm willing to sacrifice a block or two to get that environment that I need. So I don't have to run fans and all this stuff that part of the reason was I jumped from gourmet so quickly is because I don't want to have to clean so constantly all the fans, all the exhausts, all the humidifiers. And
yeah, that is the nice thing about reishi antlers is that you don't even have to, you don't have to clean stuff as much. There's no spore load to worry about. I will say we started, for a while we were just growing reishi in the bag. Mm-hmm. Like we wouldn't even open the bag and just let the antlers kind of form. They form this like rib cage kind of structure once they fuse at the top. And then at that point we would cut them and pull them out. But I actually find that now that I've grown them in the Martha style, after you told me you didn't use the humidification or airflow, I actually found those a lot easier to harvest and a lot easier to deal with. So that's kind of why I've started switching to the Martha grow, which we'll be doing. We do waves for a lot of our stuff. So like, coming up through the summertime, that'll be my reishi season. So you'll start seeing, as right now, wintertime, we've been doing a lot of enoki trials, a lot of, oysters and a lot of hericium. And the shoulder seasons will do probably the most hericium trials, but then the summertime comes, I'll shut down my grow room for gourmets and I'll turn my air way down or off. Is my plan this year. And I'm just going to pack the whole grow room. So I'm going to try to fit about 700 reishi blocks in there. So yeah. And then I'm going to see but I'm going to do like different varieties. So it'll be like 1 week I'll pack it with like 160 something, and then just fill each shelf. And I really want to do the black reishi. I've grown it a few times. I love the black reishi. I love the tinctures and the tea that comes out of it a lot more than I do any of the reds typically.
Yeah, it's a beautiful, it's one of the most mind-blowing to me when I see it because it looks not real. And I've had people say that. People who bought some black reishi from me and then messaged me when they got it, like, did you spray anything on this or whatever. I'm like, no, it looks like that naturally. But it is probably one of the most difficult ones that I grow.
Mm-hmm.
By its inconsistency. It's more picky, it's slower.
Yep, definitely slower.
Yeah, you definitely get more contamination.
Do you notice
on the substrate? You shouldn't be getting contamination on your mushrooms. I just want to say that. When I say the contamination, it might be on the substrate. But if it's all over your mushrooms, you have a problem. But every once in a while, those little pieces that are on the edge or something.
Yeah.
They might be susceptible to getting some trike on them, something like that. But usually it's just on the substrate surface. And a lot of times it's because I open the bag too early. I'm just impatient.
Mm-hmm.
So
I don't know if you can see what I've pulled up here, but I've got a picture of you holding some impressive black reishi antlers.
That's one of the best ones that I've done. Although I did a 5-gallon bucket grow that was conchs, and it's probably the best one of conchs, and that's definitely the best antler one.
Gotcha.
By far.
Okay. Yeah, I mean, I love the black reishi just in general, but I have come across the same thing. Though I noticed a difference in the Japonicum versus I can't remember the name of the species of the other one now.
I've only run Sinense.
That's the one
so far. But I'm, like I said, I mean, I'm pretty new at this, so there's so many that I haven't even attempted yet. And I'm really excited this year to get out and find some more of my own. I've never been excited about foraging or anything like that until last year by accident. I found my first wild reishi.
Oh, hold on a second. Oh, people were saying they couldn't see the pic. I know what happened. It's because it pops out. Like, so when I click it pops out and it looks like we can see it, but you all, I don't know. It should be showing you guys. So, but I've got a bunch of people that said they can't see.
Oh yeah, nice.
Weird. I don't know. Okay. Maybe I'll just leave it on the main page there, and we'll scroll through different options. But I did have a question by Ed Grand, who thanks Ed for joining us. He says, anyone tried doing reishi-like stuff with Ameroderma? I don't actually know that genus at all.
No, I think I know what you're talking about, and I have not, but I have thought about it. I've almost bought the culture several times, but it was like $60, and I'm like, I'm not sure if I'm ready for that.
Yeah.
As you get into it, getting more and more, you'll get more and more strains.
But think of what you could do with that $60 and how you can transmutate that $60 into far more cooler experiences for one, but then also more money down the road just to the ROI, I'm sure will definitely exchange itself.
Yeah. Part of it is I just have so many cultures and I can get so many different morphologies from a single culture that I am not able to try as many new ones as I would like to, just because I'm still working with the other ones.
Well, and I will tell you that I have a tendency to buy strains before I think about it, and before I'm ready. And when I've got 15 other things going, it's like, oh, I bought this strain and I've got no real room for it in my production schedule. Yeah. So I'm definitely guilty of that kind of thing. This skull is the skull, of course. That's very heavy metal.
Yeah, that's a badass skull. I actually need to get in there today, and where that white is, that's the mushrooms growing in. And so every day I go in and I rub that down with my finger, because I want it to develop like the mushroom color and the lacquer type finish, but I don't want it to grow out on this one. So I'm trying to get it to look really colorful and but without it really being antlers. So we'll see. I don't know, but I think it's gonna work.
I think so. I know I definitely voted for the I wanted to see Oh, here's a video of you doing that.
Yeah.
The rubbing. Oh, that's RDTN too.
Yeah, it is. Yep.
Whitening as its teeth.
Oh my gosh, it does kind of look like you're whitening its teeth. Um, that's super cool. I like that a lot. I definitely want one of those to. We're all like Ben is, the guy that runs Man of War. He's gonna print me using his big printer, like 3 different parts. A troll skull from the video game Skyrim. I'm gonna hang that in the background. I totally want to get one of those Reishi skulls at some point and hang that up in the background too. But
hey, if somebody out there has a 3D printer and can make molds, I've had a bunch of people want like a deer skull or something like that, but I can't find a mold for it. If somebody can make something like that,
shoot, yeah, let's talk to Ben. Ben has several 3D printers, so he runs a whole print farm. In fact, like all the stir plates that they're selling, the bag shakers, and some other things that are coming down the pipeline are all 3D printed. So
they're printing above our head as we speak.
Yeah. In fact, I'm a little surprised that I've not heard it coming through the mic, but it's because it seems loud when you have the headset off. But you can hear them like whir, just back and forth. But I love the combination of the biomaterials and 3D printing. Just, oh my gosh, man, I love it. I love it so much. Let's see. Here, what strain is this right here?
That's Ganoderma sessile.
Okay.
Lincoln number 7.
Oh, okay. That's from Terrestrial.
Yeah, and I get so many different morphologies from that one too, and that's an older grow that I just reposted. But that was all. I'm gonna do that again in the bucket. I love growing in a 5-gallon bucket. I've had some masterpieces really.
Yeah, I've seen some of your bucket grows. I mean, just like that, and they look incredible.
It's a big risk because it's a lot of substrate. But you have to. It's a numbers game,
Have you thought about doing like a false bottom to where you just do like a shallow bit and you have something like a structure underneath? That's probably something that could be 3D printed as well. It's like a razor.
Yeah, I mean the really unlimited possibilities.
Oh yeah. Real quick, why do you unmute yourself? Like, why are you doing that back and forth?
Because whenever I speak, I'm hearing myself on StreamYard while I'm speaking, and there's a 2-second to 2-second delay.
So you're muting the feed.
Yes.
Gotcha.
It echoes, which is why you'll hear me speak, and then you'll hear me drop off for a second because the auditory is my brain just can't handle it. It can't handle the echo.
Okay. Sorry, I've been trying to figure out this echo issue she's been having for weeks, and I just saw her doing that. So, but question for you, another one from Jake. How do you get the amazing dense pin sets?
I'm not 100% sure, but based on what I do, and it seems to work, is I get them in the tent early so the CO2 can build up. Still in the bag, but in the tent with a bunch of blocks. So they're using up whatever oxygen is in the tent. They're breathing that through the filter, but they're still using some of that up.
What are these really long, skinny ones with the yellow tips?
That's I got it as a Ganoderma lucidum. Somebody said that it's a Lingxi, but it's. I call it lucidum because that's what I got it as.
Okay.
But that one I get so many different. My spiral one is that strain.
Okay.
So it's one of the most aggressive to the light to where I can get crazy shapes.
Okay. Ooh, there's a tiger reishi. I can tell that one. That's crazy. So I got the dense pen sets in part are.
And light. Okay, yeah, so I didn't finish. So
yeah, my bad.
So I just try to get them within maybe like the first 10 days or so, get them in the tent. So they're getting the light and that extra CO2 is building up. And then as soon as I start seeing pins, I cut the tops off. But when I do that, you need to make sure you have a bunch of blocks in there because you need your CO2 up, you need your humidity up, definitely at that stage. So that's really it. Just creating the environment. People, I mean, I've heard so many people, even when I started, say, kind of downplay the importance of light. And I still hear that, and I cringe every time. Because you can grow mushrooms without light. Yes, gourmets, you don't need anything, but light's important for what I do. Very. You're not getting those colors or those shapes without light. But it's a combination too. It's environment as well. It's both together.
That makes a lot of sense.
I can remember. Dang it! I can remember whenever someone was using a cake decorating plate on a timer. That was terrestrial fungi, right?
Yes.
And he was doing these little corkscrew, like deeply. I mean, it was just very tight coils.
Yeah, he had a single light, a just plastic draped over in like a tent, a stool with a it wasn't a cake timer. I don't think it may have been a cake timer, but it was on a.
I think it was like an on-off timer.
He had it on an on-off timer, and then like a
and it would turn at
like a little
speeds.
turntable, like you use for photography, and then it would just cut on and just turn barely. Apparently, yeah.
I thought you used the electrical cake spinners because they were cheaper, but maybe
it may
I'm
have been.
not remembering
it's whatever
correctly.
will turn. It's just, I assume as long as it's got a power on, as long as you put a socket timer on the wall.
And then I think he was selling them to like bartenders as a garnish and a drink. It was really, really cool. That's something that stuck out in my mind.
Yeah, I wouldn't. I've had people say, "Oh, you should put it on like a timer or on some rotating thing," but I have to visually see it because I don't know when to turn it or how much to turn it until I see it. It's not like just a standard thing,
Yeah.
I think sometimes people think that if I give them, okay, the humidity should be 85%, the temperature should be 72, and the ppms of CO2 should be this, that they're going to do what I'm doing. And it's not that. Every grow, I'm having to figure it out. Each day I look at it and see what needs to happen, or, when on the rotation ones, there's days where I move it very slightly. There's certain times where it's in a rapid growth period where I have to move it like twice a day, very slightly.
Yeah. You just take it, like you go in and just kind of just do a visual assessment.
Single day. I mean, that's what is so exciting for me. It's like a Christmas morning type of thing when I go look at my tents, because I always have tents in different stages of growth. Part of that's because I'm impatient and I would never want to have to like finish a grow and then wait forever for another one.
Yeah.
So I like to always have some close to finishing and some beginning, and just to keep that excitement going. But yeah, I have 6 grow tents in my basement. It's just pretty much wall to wall. Well, I have 7, but I only have 6 that I'm using right now.
Gotcha.
Yeah.
Well, the love and the obvious care that you put into it shows, Josh. I mean, it's I'm beyond impressed.
Oh yeah. So Christian Haley said, "Fungi Florist hooked me up. Shout out from Kansas City. Much love, brother."
Aw.
He's been to my house.
Oh yeah.
he saw the madness in person.
That's good. There you go. I'm gonna have to check it out sometime.
Yeah, people in Kansas City, that's, if they reach out and want to get a piece, I do have a little booth in a shop in a town nearby here, Queen Bee Boutiques. But that's awesome. I just have people come to my house because my house is full of pieces.
Where do you sell most of your stuff out if people are too far away to come to you? Etsy.
I mean, sometimes, okay. I mean, I'm not even, to be honest, I haven't been real focused on the business side, the sales side. I mean, you see my walls packed full. I haven't been trying to move the stuff as much because it's hard for me to be in a creative space and doing just the mushroom growing part, and then transition into sales and shipping and all that. I'm just a one-man show, and I way overdo it. You know, I need like 3 employees to be just running the grow part.
Understand.
Yeah, I mean, Samantha and I've talked about this. Artists are. I have a theory that artists make terrible managers, and they need a business person to like sell them. But of course, they're going to resent that.
Well, what's crazy is my degree is in business. I worked at a bank as an accountant for many years in the corporate world, but I don't like being that person. I don't even like to use that part of my brain. I don't like who I am, I guess, you know. I like to be more the free flowing creative part of myself.
I feel you. I'm terrible at the business aspect. I've had to hire people to help me with all those things to build what I've got now, and even then, like, there are giant holes in my. It's one of the reasons why I tell people to focus on business so much when they come for mentorships and stuff, is because I am so weak in it that I've had to focus on it so much, and it does kind of turn it into a job, which is kind of the hard part, because I would rather just play in the lab and come up with all these new ways of doing stuff, and it's
that's what I've been doing, but I'm at that point now where I have enough material that I'm trying to switch into more some of the creating content, because I get so many questions, so many people reaching out, so many people just saying that they're inspired and stuff, and that makes me want to just
do more.
Yeah, it just inspires me to do more and show people what I'm doing, and let them know that this is not just a get rich quick thing. I'm a struggling artist, basically. Growing mushrooms. I mean, I'm paying to do this essentially, but I don't care because I've lived the other life of the guaranteed paycheck, but guaranteed misery too. And I'm pretty new. I've been having to figure out my path in this whole thing. And just recently I realized it's maybe not. I don't want to be at the farmer's market every weekend or this or that. I'd rather do big pieces and be in art shows and creating content, I think. But I don't know. I never know.
That's true. I mean, like, you got to dabble in it. It's kind of like what you were saying earlier. Like, sometimes that bouncing helps you find the thing you're looking for.
Yeah.
Or at least the thing that's tolerable.
Yeah.
What'd you say? We have a question. We have a question for you. Have you made any attempts at a truly living mycelial wall? I'm thinking ant farm transparency.
I can't see or hear you.
Oh, you can't see or hear us?
Oh, now I can.
Okay, cool. Wonder what happened there. Question for Josh. Have you made any attempts at a truly living mycelial wall? I'm thinking ant farm transparency into the network.
No, I haven't.
So, like, what? I guess they're thinking like glass panes, and you're growing between, like, in a framed. That'd be interesting.
That would be cool.
Especially if you put like a pattern of stuff for it to grow through.
I definitely want to do some big living pieces. Like, I've thought about having like a skull and like a glass thing somewhere.
Almost like a Indiana Jones relic or artifact or something.
Yeah, I have.
That's exactly what came to mind.
The possibilities are endless. This is so new, and I'm so excited that I have no clue where it's going to go. But I know, I mean, it got weird quick, so I know it's going to get even weirder. So,
for sure.
Yeah, we definitely experienced that.
Yeah, we have. John Brent's, I think I know the answer to this question already. He asked, do you worry about spore lung? But I assume you don't, where you're just growing antlers. Well,
I do have one tent that I do let sporulate sometimes, which is packed full right now. I need to clean it. But it's completely enclosed. I do open it each day or whatever to give a little air if I'm not using it currently, or I think I have a couple blocks in there, but no, I don't worry about it because I don't have a lot of spores producing. The one tent that I do use, for that I run a Honeywell HEPA filter anytime I open it, and I run that like for a few hours every day in my what I call the lung room.
Yeah.
From the cannabis world.
Oh, okay. I didn't know that was a thing. So you don't have to worry about spores too much then.
I mean, I don't.
Right.
You know, what am I gonna do? Be like, well, I'm not gonna do this because I'm worried about spores. You know, hey, if it takes off a few years at the end of my life, I'm cool with it. Really.
Fair enough.
I mean, I've already came close to death. You know, so I don't have that fear anymore. I don't want to go through life and not live like I did for a long time. So, yeah, that's my first wild find ever. That's why.
That's the one you sent me, the Hartman Park.
Yeah, that one is so beautiful.
It kind of it and RDTN2 kind of remind me of each other. With that gold, though, that looks a bit more gold.
Yeah, and it grows very similarly to the black almost, and it has the shininess of it. It looks almost not real, very similar to the black reishi, but in the way they grow. I noticed that the last time I had them side by side. I'm like, wow, because they're different than some of the other ones.
That is such a unique, and I love the vase that you've got that in. That matches really well.
Yeah, I'm gonna definitely be doing more container grows because that's what I started out doing, and then I stopped because I was just trying to do a whole bunch of blocks. But I like growing in containers so I can get unique shapes.
Yeah,
it would be so cool to partner with a local ceramicist, kind of like what we did with our mugs years and years ago. We had a limited run, and we were going to get some more made, but that didn't work out.
The reishi mugs, yeah.
Yeah, if they could color sample, actually for Christmas I got this little hex code sampler. It's like a keychain, and you put it on a color, and it'll spit out the code of what color it is digitally. There's a lot of that stuff that you could put into like a chemistry app as a ceramicist, and it'll tell you exactly what to mix together to get that specific hex code color. And that'd be really neat to make a bunch of containers based off of your reishi colors.
Yeah.
Gosh, there's so much. It looks like my shop.
So many.
And just mushrooms everywhere.
That's just my garage. Yeah, that's.
Oh, man. Ooh, there's black reishi.
The stripes.
Yeah. That was the most recent grow that finished up. I will say one of the more difficult times of growing. I grow year round, so I don't. It doesn't bother me. My basement is, it's a finished basement, so it stays relatively the same temperature. But in the winter, when it's really cold, my furnace is running a lot. It does kind of dry out my humidity and add more fresh air than I would like. So I noticed they finish up a little sooner than like in the summertime or spring or fall.
Yeah.
But still, I mean, all these grew during the winter, so that's.
You can see the snow.
Yeah.
Yeah. Man, this strain is just, I really like those little yellow tips.
Yeah, that's one of my favorite ones. I just realized that was one of my original ones, and I never really grew it out of containers. So I'm like, damn, why haven't I done that? So now I'm gonna do a whole bunch of container grows of that one.
What did you say that strain was called again?
I got it as Ganoderma lucidum from a big company.
Oh, okay.
So I mean, but I was told that it's Lingxi or something. I'm not gonna get into. So that is the same one right there.
Okay. Yeah, that's when you were talking about a lot of your curls and stuff. Or
yeah, it's very light sensitive.
Evidently, yeah. Looks like it's just been chasing that stuff around and around.
Yeah.
It's incredible. Someone asks, how to avoid the bumpy growths on reishi? It seems to do with the daily light cycles. I'm not sure what they mean by the bump. I don't really get any bumpy growth.
Yeah, I don't know what. I'm not sure what that means.
Maybe Jake, maybe you can specify for us so we can answer you. John wants to know, what are the benefits of reishi? Have you worked much into that, or?
I mean, yeah, it's not my my strength.
Mm.
Yeah, I've definitely looked at it. I understand it. I know the history and all that, but I don't talk about it too much.
Yeah, I understand.
Because people can Google it or chat GPT and get a better explanation than I can give, on something like that. So yeah, there's definitely, there's the research is out there. You can go look.
Yeah.
I highly recommend reishi tinctures or teas and all that stuff. I just don't like talking about consumables too much to other people. For me, I want people to do their own research, make their own choices on that stuff.
That's wise.
Yeah, we usually do the same thing.
Yeah, it's just a weird thing that I have. Like, I don't want to be. I don't know. It's just, and I thought about it. I was like, I really wanted to get into the extracts and stuff, but I'm not passionate about it like that. Two, I don't want to be dealing with something that people are consuming on that level like that.
I understand.
Now, if it's raw, fresh reishi, dried reishi, that's something different. But I guess if I was an expert at extracting and I was doing it myself, then it would be different. But I'm not.
Yeah, the game you're chasing is artwork. So.
Yeah, just the beauty of it. I know the medicinal benefits are there, and I do promote that and talk to people about it, but that's just not my strength, really. So
I get it. Like I said, I do the same thing because I do make extracts and I do let people, purchase them, and I do understand some of the health benefits, but at the same time, I try not to make a lot of claims or anything like that, which I probably could move more extracts if I did, but that's not really. I really just want to be in the genetics game more than I want to be in anything. So, well, hey, we are at the hour, so I need to do a sponsorship video real quick. So we'll be back in like a minute and a half. So if you got to use the restroom or something like that,
cool.
Now's the time. But we will hit a word from our sponsors now. Hey, folks, welcome to another sponsorship for the MushRune Cast. We're always talking about dialing in your grow setup, and when it comes to humidity, there's one name we trust: House of Hydro. These foggers are an absolute game changer for mushroom cultivation. House of Hydro's ultrasonic humidifiers put out an incredibly fine, cool mist. So fine, in fact, that mycelium can actually uptake it straight from the air. That means better hydration, better growth, happier mushrooms, and better yields. And let me tell you, these things are way easier to vent around your op than setting up full-on plumbing pressure systems. No pipes, no hassle, just perfect humidity right where you need it. And when you're working with the best, you want the best support. John at House of Hydro takes care of his customers better than anyone in the game. If you ever need help, they've got you covered. And because House of Hydro is sponsoring the MushRune Cast, we've got a deal for you. Use code MOSSY at checkout, and you'll get a full set worth of free replacement discs with your order. It's up to a $50 value. Get yourself a House of Hydro fogger. Your mushrooms will thank you. Keep spawning culture, y'all. Welcome back, y'all. John, I love how you're like really oh my goodness, my chat won't work. There we go. John's really into my pee breaks. Or maybe he's saying he's taking a pee break.
Maybe he's excited.
I mean, that's okay. I get excited when I go pee too. The older I get, the more excited I get.
It's like in a movie whenever you have an intermission and you're like, popcorn and chocolate, let's go.
There you go. Welcome back, Josh.
Welcome.
Excuse me, Samantha. I might have to take a coughing break here in a second, but sorry about
Coughing
that.
break with the coffee break.
Coughing and coffee. So Josh, you said you have an Etsy store. Is that where people like? Do you sell strains and stuff of
Yeah,
what
I
you
mean,
grow?
I have a handful on there of just kind of what I run because I just get so many people reaching out to me. So I just keep that available. I'm gonna put a bunch of. Sometimes I have some art pieces, and I have a whole bunch of cool dried bouquets that I want to list. But honestly, I've been so busy doing a production run, trying to get this content created, that I have not really been wanting to have too many sales, actually, which sounds bad, but I don't, I haven't had the time to be doing that. But I'm about to transition into that. So my tents are almost filled back up. But yeah, I have so much stuff that's not listed right now that needs to be.
Yeah, I like your little earrings here.
Yeah, that's a super cool grow that I did.
I think I saw that one. It was like a bunch of spires, and then these little just.
Yeah.
Wait, right here's a picture of it. Yeah, that was a super cool grow. I was really, really into that one. Let's see, will this pop out? And I don't think people will be able to see that one. Dang it.
Yeah, so sometimes I load my Etsy up and and I'm in sales mode if I need to get in that. But sometimes I'm just too busy. That's where I'm at right now. Like the amount of messages I recently Facebook was like, hey, start posting in groups and we'll pay you.
Yeah.
So I'm like, oh, okay. So then I started having some viral posts, 3 million views in like less than 2 months. And so just the amount of messages that come along with that has been overwhelming for me. I mean, I have like a dozen messages right now, people wanting to get pieces, and I just can't. I just don't have the time.
Dude, it's hard being a one-man show. I mean, Samantha and I know exactly how that goes because we're basically a two-person show, and I mean, so you think double the firepower there, but we still get incredibly overwhelmed.
Yeah,
and it's just hard. It's hard to keep up with the shop and the, I mean, is the shop, the shipping, the stocking of everything, the random order. Like that's why we've gotten away from doing more and more custom stuff and going more to subscription models and things like that because it makes it a lot easier. But because I have to, I can't keep up with it all. So I 100% get that.
That's part of the reason why I'm transitioning to YouTube and creating content. One, because the demand is there and people are always asking me. Two is just the natural progression. I just can't have a bunch of blocks just growing to make little pieces. I just want to grow masterpieces, really. And teach people and create content and do that. And go from, instead of selling at farmers markets, get into higher end places. Because for me to feed myself and survive doing it this way, that's what it has to be. So I got to create the value. I got to make pieces that are so mind blowing that people are willing to pay some money for them.
Mm-hmm.
I can absolutely see you integrating these things into something like a massive wall art that is like the ferns and the moss and then the reishi. And I see these dehydrated mushrooms that they integrate into all of that. And they look a little sad sometimes, but I can see you using reishi with that lacquered kind of polished look to it already. It would just look amazing.
Absolutely. There's some stuff like that in the works. There's some local artists that I want to work with that are more into the florals and the mosses and stuff, because I see endless possibilities, but I don't have the time to learn a whole nother genre to combine them. I'd rather kind of collab and let our creatives come together. For me, the mushrooms alone are the art mostly, and then it's just finding a way to display them. But I know there's so many more possibilities to combine it with other things, especially the floral stuff. I think mushrooms with dried flowers, I think that's an untapped gem.
Oh yeah, we had I don't remember which
beautiful.
country musician in fact, we weren't supposed to know, so I probably shouldn't say it anyways, even if I did remember. But they had our like golden oysters and something in their wedding, like their reception. Amongst the bouquets of flowers and stuff, they put our golden oysters. And was it just goldens or was it the whites too?
It was a mix of everything, and
Okay.
what they wanted was like a mushroom fairy forest theme in their wedding, and it was just wild meadow flowers and the mushrooms and poppies, and like it was just so pretty. It was gorgeous. They did a professional photo shoot. The florist did, and posted it on her stuff. I'd love to reach out to them and maybe do like a flashback to all that stuff. Yeah, it was beautiful.
I've had several people reach out about having weddings this year and wanting to maybe have some centerpieces and some mushroom bouquets and stuff. So, I mean, I really see so much opportunity. I mean, just think of all the holidays and events that people buy flowers, and all the money spent on flowers and how short they last. A lot of people that after a week, they're throwing them out.
Oh yeah. I love the idea of like you're doing like, well, if you do these reishi bonsai like for a wedding, and I will tell you, my dad's a musician, getting into the wedding market, going to wedding shows, that my dad got, like, that's how they got so many gigs, and they got paid good money for the wedding stuff. Yeah. But the I can just imagine just like that, like you've got there like these little pots, or like Samantha Sen work with a ceramicist, having mushroom bonsais grow out of it, and then there'll be the table decorations for a reception, a wedding reception, and then people get to take those home as party favors. Yeah.
I think it's badass. I mean, and there's what I've learned is like there's people who are freaked out by mushrooms. Mm-hmm. There's people who are indifferent, and then there's just a mushroom. Then it just goes to people who are obsessed. It's like that. That's what I seem to come across. It's like people don't care, they're freaked out, or they really love mushrooms.
Yep.
And so I just think it's just not out there, and people don't even know about it. I run across so many people that didn't even know, and I didn't even know until I stumbled across it. So I think this could grow into something huge. And I'm not trying to be a corporation or anything. I'm trying to enjoy life and do something that gives me joy. But I do see that this could be something really big.
Oh, for sure.
With the right collaborations, and I just see so many opportunities. Weddings alone could be huge.
Yep.
Just think,
but then you've got so much more on top of that as well.
Yeah, if you even got 5%, say 5% of the weddings, there's mushroom lovers that would be, or even 1%.
Mm-hmm. There's actually a project that I don't want to discuss on air, but I want to talk to you. I've wanted to talk to you about. So we'll need to get together sometime after the show, the next couple of days or something. But I've got an art project I would like to collaborate with. That I think that you and I could do something really, really cool with.
Yeah.
Just remind me later, because I'm forgetful.
For sure. I'm always down for collabs, because it helps both people, tap into different communities that you wouldn't necessarily cross. I mean, I'm a weird genre kind of. I don't even know how somebody would necessarily stumble across my stuff.
Honestly, man, I'm not sure. Like it, broad-reaching hashtags maybe would be the only way I could think of.
And that's one of the reasons why I tried to make my first YouTube video more broad and not just targeted at the mushroom community, because I know they'll find me anyway. I want to find the people that don't even know that they're obsessed with mushrooms yet, or whatever. So
let's see.
I saw that, like that excites me when I see that. Like, I don't see how any human being could look at something like that. And that was alive right there at that time. It's not now, but
before it was dried.
Yeah, and if you don't think that's cool, there's something wrong with you. So, you know, I don't know. Maybe it's me, but
hey, man, I get it, man. My family's not like my wife and I are into mushrooms, but you know, the rest of the family, being like my mother, my father, my grandparents, they're like, "Oh, that's cool that you do that thing." My mother would probably love this stuff.
Yeah,
you know, even though she doesn't normally get like she. I mean, don't get me wrong. If she sees a mushroom thing, she's like, "Hey, Andrew, I'm going to share this with you." But it's I don't think that she's as into mushrooms as we are. So Jacob Wolves wants to know: has Josh attempted at making a massive reishi cap by fusing a bunch of antlers together, mini antlers?
I have a hat. I can grab it real quick.
Yeah, grab that.
I'm really excited to see that. I will say too that being a mushroom farm in Jefferson City, I don't know if it's just where we're in such a rural area or what, but there's like this automatic assumption that we're just selling drugs.
Oh gosh, yeah. We get all the comments constantly all the time. Here we go.
So I just hollowed out the block after it dried, and then I kind of sealed it up. But yeah.
So that just fits. Like, did you just wear that on your head there you go. Dude, I freaking love that. That's awesome.
Now you need to make a brim out of the
cap
shelf form.
Yeah.
Yeah. So that's an idea that I definitely want to try again.
That's awesome.
But I have, I jump from idea to idea so much that I'll never run out of things to do. That's the beauty of this.
That is one of the beautiful things.
And you know way more about mushrooms than I do. I'm new to this, and I know a lot, but I still have barely even scratched the surface of what I know, and I try to, because in the beginning I want to try to learn everything and do everything and all that, and I have to like rein myself in, and I'd rather be more of an expert in a narrower field than like a regular knowledge and a whole bunch of stuff type of
thing. You're okay with specializing.
Yeah, I guess my personality, maybe there's some the spectrum stuff going on, but I do tend to focus on, get obsessed with weird things.
I do too, but then I bounce a lot, and Samantha can dig in deep on something. And in fact, last night we were discussing, she came and talked to me for a minute, and she's like, okay, or no, she called me and she's like, okay, I'm in the flow, so I'm getting off the phone. And I was like, okay, I'll leave you alone for a few hours. So I literally left her alone until it was time for me to get in the sauna, and it was just like 3 or 4 hours later, but she was in the zone working on her book. She's like her children's book she's writing. So I get how to work with people like you guys. Because Samantha's that kind of zoomed in focus for sure.
Yeah,
I can accidentally hyper focus on things and neglect other things that I ought to be doing, like cooking dinner and everything else. Sometimes, in fact, when Andrew came in here and he was like, "Hey, do you want to join me in the sauna?" This is something that we try to do together, where we just kind of decompress and we discuss our day. And I definitely struggled a minute. I was like, but I want to continue.
I asked her, I was like, you want to get in the sauna? And she went, and I was like, okay, you don't have to. And she went, yeah, I'll do it. And I was like, okay, hooray.
Yeah. I forget to eat sometimes. I'll be doing so much, and then it's like I start feeling a little sick because I've drank so much coffee, but not eating it. And it's like, damn, it's 6 o'clock. I didn't even eat lunch,
Same.
What's funny is if you look at me, you'd think I'd never forget to eat, but I do forget to eat for long periods. It's weird. But in fact, my mentor, Hugh Brewer, I never saw him without a Pepsi in his hand. And yet that guy was rail thin. And me, I gave up sodas. And I still can't.
You can be thin and unhealthy, though.
That's true. That is true. And he was unhealthy, but in some ways. But that was in part due to he had some lung issues and stuff. John says it's always good to shut things down and take a mental break, or you'll have a complete mental breakdown, which is harder to recover from, which I get 100%. In fact, burnout is the number one thing I feel like facing mushroom guys.
Yeah.
And gals.
For me, I had that seasonal depression. So winter time after daylight savings and like around the holidays, it's tough for me. Like I still feel the need to go, and there's all these things I'm trying to do, but like sometimes I physically can't even get myself to, you know, eat and go to the bathroom and stuff. So I think that's it's a forced, for me, it's nature forcing me to take that
Right.
downtime.
It's kind of like, yeah, you don't get a choice in this, bud.
Yeah.
Yeah, if you don't do it and you don't take care of yourself, your body will do something to the point where you have to. That's for sure. And I've spoken to so many other mushroom farmers, so many restaurant owners, just people in the medical field. My mom's a nurse. Like it's very, very real. And you can have seasonal depression, you can have burnout, you can have functional depression where you seem like you're happy-go-lucky and you're continuing to do everything that you need to do, but you're struggling.
You're not really all right.
Yeah.
I mean, I lived that life for 20 years. I didn't even know what depression and anxiety was until 6 years ago. Really, I was just really in fight or flight for 20 years, raising a family and doing a job that I hated. And I knew there was something so much greater inside of me, and I had to drink. That was the only way I could do it. That was the only way I could go to work every day and let somebody have power over me that's imaginary, and I'm just getting paid to pay bills so I can afford to be miserable.
Right. And then try to forget the misery by drinking.
Yeah. And that's the American way. Really, it's hustle culture. We're always just going, and that's part of the reason why so many unhappy people.
Yeah, it's hard because it does seem like, you know, it's our responsibility. Like, I guess we, like, from a cultural perspective, it's all hustle, but then we have to be protective of our own mental well-being and state, and it's not always easy. And I don't feel like people really do a good job. Like when I was being raised, I don't feel like anybody really told me, hey, it's gonna suck. And you know, you need some healthy ways of dealing with this stuff, like, or you know, hey, did you know that you can design your own life? Like, you can really design your own life, and you can make a life where you're happy and everything else. Oh, my mom said she does love that stuff. I love the beauty and diversity of mushrooms, the colors, especially pink oysters, and your and Sam's passion for them. My mom's watching. That's cool. I like it when my mama watches. It makes me think she's proud of me. So, John wants to know, where does reishi grow wild, and do we have them wild here in the States? Well, considering that he and I have grown RDTN2, he's grown Hartman Park. That's at least 2 reishis that are from the wild here in the States. And where are you? Somebody's asked where you're located at.
I'm in just outside of Kansas City.
Okay, that's Kansas City, Missouri.
Yeah. Yep.
Okay.
Yeah, we don't recognize the other side of the state line. That's not the real Kansas City.
Oh gosh.
We're the one with the football team.
There you go. So Hartman Park is right there in Kansas City.
It's in Leeds. It's like literally like a mile from my house. There's like some, it's a park. They got some softball fields, and then they got like a nature trail. And when I found it, I wasn't even looking for that. It was like a super hot day, and I didn't want to get outside. I was like, I'm just gonna do it. Something just pulled me to do this. I took my daughter's dog on a walk, and as soon as I walked into the woods, like I could see it. Like it looked at me from across the way.
Dude, it's weird how that happens. Yeah. Josiah of ET Fungi was telling, he brought me 2 oysters, and he's like, dude, it was like I just had a feeling I should go to the park that day, and I walked right to the mushrooms.
Yeah.
And I've done that so many times myself. It's kind of an odd thing. Like it's just an odd thing, and I've heard that story over and over and over again.
Yeah, it was meant to be, because I walked that whole park. I mean, this was like 100-degree weather. This was like in the heat of the summer.
Wow.
And I walked that whole park for miles after I found this, and I didn't see another mushroom anywhere. Maybe some super dry turkey tail or something. But it was so meant to be. And I didn't see any other reishi either. I mean, it was just this one spot, this one tree. Like, as soon as I walked in, just walked right to it, and it's just boom.
The
hit
tree
me,
was
and I'm like,
calling.
dude, my heart started pounding, and I was so freaking excited.
Dude, my first finds were exactly. It was like deer hunting. The first time you shoot at a deer, you just start shaking uncontrollably, and
Yeah.
like the finding my first mushroom was exciting. You get excited in the same way, except you don't have to field dress anything or kill anything, which I like.
Yeah. But really, what was weird about it too was that once I brought it home and grew it out, just how beautiful it was. I was like, this was so meant to be that my first find turns into just such a beautiful specimen that I haven't even really figured out all what it can do yet. I've just done the original couple grows on it, and but I got a lot of big container grows of it right now.
Well, I've got it slated for my summertime grow because I really try to grow with the season, so I can't I have a very small amount that I do in the Martha tents. I can fit maybe like 8 to 12 blocks in each one, so I can't do a lot. So I haven't even got to try the Hartman yet because we switch with the season so much. But the good news is summer is coming, so I will get a chance to play with it.
Yeah,
and actually
it's a little bit slower than like the RD210, but both of them are beautiful. I mean, I want to show you. I have this because I just am amazed by some of the antlers I get from.
That's the Hartman?
No, this is your RD.
Okay, I was gonna say it's got that same red.
Yeah, I get these massive and they look really almost like animal antlers in the way that they're shaped sometimes.
Or even I'll be honest, it kind of gives me chicken paw. Like chicken paws, it kind of gives me a little feeling there, like raptor talons or something.
Yeah, definitely has a bit of a flat spread.
It does,
which is very interesting.
Yeah, those other ones he was growing have that they almost look like a bunch of really elongated pinkies, right? Just that round kind of tube shape, and then that RDTN2 is flat.
See making pins or pencils out of those. Have you done that already?
I haven't, but there's a guy, I think he's here in Missouri. He's bought some pieces from me, and he made paintbrushes.
Yes, I saw that. I saw that. It was so cool.
Yeah.
Reishi handled paintbrushes.
Yeah. So there's so many possibilities. Like I have a bunch of ideas right now that I want to do. And because I have the mushrooms, and I have the time. It's like at some point I have to make some money because I spend I would rather create and grow and make it, and sometimes it's hard for me to pull myself away and be like, all right, you got to get into that business side, which is crazy because I know I'm good at it. That's what I went to school for, but I just don't enjoy that.
Maybe you'll enjoy it more having taken time away from it, but then also combining it with a passion that you love. I will say that I find it much less offensive to do factory style work now that it's mushrooms, right? Now that I know that it's supporting the thing that I love. So maybe you'll find the same thing, because I will say that it surprised me that I was like, oh, this thing I used to hate. I used to hate cleaning. Now I don't mind cleaning nearly as bad, though. I do bet Samantha wishes I did it more. But at the same time, it's I don't know, a bunch of things that I used to hate, I don't find that I hate once I have found something I'm passionate about, and all those things are now supporting that passion.
Yeah, and I think the content creating is kind of where it's going to alleviate a little bit of that for me. It just kind of happened with the Facebook thing where things started going viral and starting to get a little income off just posting pictures of my grows.
Mm-hmm.
So then I was like, all right, I know I need to get on YouTube, but it's against my nature. Really against my nature.
Well, you could ask Samantha, and she's the same way. Sorry, you were actually going to say that.
Go ahead.
And I used to be deathly afraid of cameras. I never wanted to be on video, to be talking public speaking and speaking to people through a video. Just immediately, everything I would just I would look at the camera, I would go black. Everything would just I remember one time Samantha and I went on the news and to talk about some of the things that we were doing, and we went there, and I basically remember getting there, and then we did the interview, and I don't remember the interview at all. So
Afterwards, you'd literally turn to me and you were like, "What did I say?"
I was like, did I just bumble like an idiot? She's like, no, you look like you were. I was like, good, because I was blacked out. I was like, that stuff used to create so much fear and anxiety in me, and now that I've gotten used to it, it's not nearly so bad. But
I mean, it took me all week to make my first YouTube video. I kept coming up with reasons to not do it, and or I would do little bits of it, and but then once I really got into it, then I got in the flow, and I'm like, it's not so bad. But for me, it's like, one, I'm socially awkward, I'm introverted, and I can't like fake things, so I didn't want it to come off like scripted or anything like that. Things have to be natural for me. That's why an interview, like when we're talking back and forth, that's so much more of a natural flow than me talking to a camera without an audience.
Right.
It felt so weird.
Well, it is weird. Like you set up the tripod and then you look literally into this black hole.
Yeah.
Right. And you're like, no matter how much authenticness I put into it, no matter how much love or passion or whatever, I get no feedback from that camera. So it's hard.
Andrew's far better at it than I am. You see me looking down. I'm looking at you, Josh. Like I naturally just want to converse with the face in front of me versus, lifting my head up here and just talking to the camera.
Yeah.
It seems so abnormal to talk to you there. It definitely takes some taking.
There's a disconnect because I'm getting used to it myself.
Yeah, taking time to get used to it, and just in general, I think that imposter syndrome sometimes will get the best of you, and you just have to sit there and think, I am worthy. You are worthy. The things that you're interested in, you want to share. You obviously have that feedback, and Andrew and I have had that feedback as well. Like it's just people are curious and they're interested in your story, and you need to get out there and share it as much as you can.
Yeah, I appreciate that. Yeah, sometimes that is hard to, and that's why I'm doing this really, because I know I can help people. Because I would much rather just be to myself, grow.
Yeah.
Because it kind of eliminates some of the noise and some of the, the paradox is for the content creation and the YouTube to be good is I to be successful, I have to get attention, and I have to deal with comments and people judging and all that stuff. And I'm perfectly fine without it. But I'm also at a point now where I don't care. I'm so confident in who I am because I've done the work and I already been to the bottom that I don't really care. But I know it's what I'm supposed to do, so we'll just see how it turns out. But yeah, my nature is to not be doing any of this, and just the fact that people even want to hear what I have to say or trust what I'm saying. That's kind of weird too.
Well,
proof is in the pudding, though. Right, your wall.
Right, and no, I was going to say you're absolutely right that the proof is in the pudding. There, it's but it's also like consistency. The more videos you put out, people will try, then you gain reputation. That reputation then feeds where, it builds on itself. And so, you build that trust with your audience, I feel like, is one of those things that you just have to do by putting out regular content. So,
and I'm just real. I'm not going to play a character or, be a rah-rah type of person, because that's not me. I'm just gonna be as real as I can. I can't fake it at all. I mean, and that's one of the reasons I struggle socially, because not a lot of times in social situations are people just real. Everybody has a mask on. They're trying to, what they say is not usually always what they mean. You got to kind of like figure out, are they projecting something onto you? It's just, so when I'm talking to somebody, a lot of times it's like just trying to figure out even what the real meaning behind what they're saying is.
Yeah.
I can't just, and I'm terrible at small talk and that stuff. So, but talking mushrooms seems to be something that I can do, I guess.
Yeah. Samantha's talked to me about that. Like, and I've noticed that, like, I always feel like Samantha's kind of oftentimes going, "What do you really mean by that?" And it's because like I'm very direct and I say what I mean and I think very carefully about my words usually. So if I say something, she might take meaning from it that I'm like, well, no, I don't. There was no extra meaning. It was just literally straight words.
Yeah, yeah.
But I've not had to live with that as much, but I have seen Samantha live with it, and it does look a little torturous sometimes.
It's just
Well, one of the reasons why I
sometimes.
married Andrew was just how authentically honest he was, and it just I spent a lot of my life just having to read in between the lines in some senses just for survival, and so it
Yeah.
just I mean it's that authenticity it definitely shows. You can't be on YouTube, I don't think, at least, especially on long
Not
podcasts
long
like
term,
this,
yeah.
without showing who you are, exactly what you stand
Mhm.
for.
Yeah.
And we've had messages from folks where it's like, I'm buying from you because of your authenticity, and that means the world.
Yeah. That
Like
is crazy. I
people,
do get so many positive messages like from all over the world. It just really blows my mind. And really that has been really a help because I never got that, like from, I mean, I have supportive parents and all that, but like I have two sisters and a brother. None of them have even asked a question or even acknowledged that I grow mushrooms or any of that, and then, so like, then we go to like a holiday or something and then just everybody pretends. But like I can't do that. Like
Oh, the
if
owl.
you're not interested in what I do, which is who I am, like I can't even. So that's where I'm at in my life, is like I only want to be around real people who really genuinely are interested in me, and it's a mutual thing.
oh, absolutely.
And I don't care if you're family or what. So I not just the people that I've met through the mushroom community, and art people too. There's been so many just artists and random people that have reached out that I just really appreciate that. And I never expected any of that.
It's been weird because like when I got sick and put on oxygen, it really reminded me of how weird it is to me that there's a mushroom community, and how well some of these people who were friendly acquaintances or sometimes strangers just reaching out and being like, "Hey, man, how can I help?" And it was the weirdest thing for me, but because I'm always this kind of person where I always want to appear strong, and I don't like appearing weak, which I'm sure is everybody, but
Yeah,
it was so weird to kind of open up about my weakness and then just have that such a good response, such a wholesome response, and then like Samantha and I really it hit us hard. I know it hit Samantha really hard because she was the only one keeping up with stuff. In fact, she's tearing up now, so I better stop talking about it. But it is weird, man, how the community like being authentic. That seems to be the case for so many mushroom people, and I don't know if it's because mushrooms are in the fringe, so a lot of us fringe folk have been attracted to it, or if there's something deeper involved in it as well. But
I know a lot of black sheep of the families who are mushroom people.
yeah,
I don't know if it's a coincidence or what, but yeah, it is weird. It's a different kind of people. I've never connected with groups in general,
mm-hmm.
like in a religious sense or in a political sense. Like I'm not a group person. I don't even like more than a handful of people, necessarily, because it's just a bunch of egos a lot of times at battle unconsciously.
Yeah.
But once I got into the mushroom world, I just started meeting so many people who have been through something similar or had a similar, that have taken off their mask and are real. And that's hard to find in society in general.
I
Oh,
would
it
agree
is
with that.
definitely difficult, and Andrew said I was almost tearing up. It wasn't that I was tearing up at the idea of doing everything on my own, and there were. Have you gotten any weird stalkers yet? that's that's something else, behind the scenes that I don't think people see. But there was I was speaking to someone, and they took, and I mentioned, I am working a lot on my own, and I was struggling with it more because I knew Andrew wanted to be there, and I knew that he was struggling not being able to help, and then being able to talk to the community and being able to kind of get feedback from them of like, hey, even down to the smallest little increment of, I am willing to wait on my order. I know that you are overwhelmed.
Mm-hmm.
They didn't take it as in, hey, well, I'm doing everything on my own. Andrew's not even working. There are people who have taken it that way, and that's not the way that I meant it at all. But, and you're talking about the ego and how people will communicate, and you just don't have the patience for that kind of thing. And Andrew and I, that's something that we've learned over the years and over the sheer massive amount of communication is we don't have time for that. And that's where that collaboration and that communication with people who have a positive light and a positive take on things, and they are authentic in the way that they view that. That's what you want to cultivate. And you'll see I'll hashtag a lot on my posts. Cultivate kindness, cultivate what matters. You hit the nail on the head with that.
Yeah. I'm real protective of my energy these days, especially since I realize how powerful it is.
Yeah.
What you put out, you get back, and I like being alone, not distracted by other people's unconsciousness. That's how I feel sometimes. Like, I have to go out. When I go out into society, I have to deal with other people's unresolved issues. I feel like,
Yeah.
well, the more aware and more work I did on myself, then I became more aware of like how asleep so many people are and how asleep I was. That's why I'm able to recognize it. And I know I can help some people change that just by finding something that gives you some meaning and passion. Then can change those narratives in your mind and all that. So
there's a picture that Andrew just came across, and it's this one right here on the bottom right. Is this our RDTN2?
yeah,
That's what that splay
flat.
right there. You had some owls with the reishi twirling forward. I could totally see that splay. It looks just like a wing. If you could put holes in the side and have its wings like flailing, that would be awesome.
It's funny how the reishi owl is such a thing, because Samantha and I drew a reishi owl like, I don't know, 8 years ago. And because I just put a little bit of reishi in a little owl cup, just like this exact thing. And I had it just kind of look like it was growing out of there. And so Samantha did a design on it on Adobe Fresco or something like that.
I was just learning it.
Right. And then it's just funny because I've seen other people do it. And then to hear it's like, man, you see two. You see the owl and you see the deer.
It's a popular combo.
Yeah, I don't know why, but I love it. Like, I was just looking at it, I'm like, oh man, I love those little owls.
There's definitely owl people, and so like when I first started, I was trying to find these like little niches. Like, okay, what can I add a mushroom to and hit these different groups? But yeah, there's definitely owl people.
Oh, take it.
Oh yeah. Tell me about your experience at the Oklahoma Mushroom Festival, if you don't mind.
Oh, it was amazing.
I hated that I missed this one, man, because I was supposed to speak, and I had too much. Last year was not a great year for my health and the weather around here, but I desperately wanted to go, and I hated that I didn't get to. So I lived a little vicariously through you.
It was a great experience. A little overwhelming because, like I said, I am an introvert, and so it was loud. I was right by the door. And just, it was so packed, so many people, but it was exciting too. A lot of people had never seen anything like it. So yeah, it was, I got to talk mushrooms all day, all weekend, really. And just see other people excited about mushrooms and just all, it was just really cool experience. I would definitely do that again.
It was weird for me, man, because I took 2 steps out of the Uber, and people were like, Andrew Reed, Mossy Creek Mushrooms? And I was like, what? Yeah. And I had been doing a sporadic and Samantha with me. And like, I talked to these people. They kind of hung around. I took 2 more steps, and someone's like, Andrew, Mossy, or hey, Mossy. And I was like, what? And then so I saw Ben Dooling and Samantha look at each other and then just walk away. And because they're like, we're not going to sit here and watch Andrew be a celebrity, So,
We wanted to go visit all of the equipment, like the gigantic autoclaves. That's where we went. We started just chattering with everybody.
Yeah, it was cool. There was some of that celebrity moment feeling. People that I didn't really know through maybe like Instagram really would come up, and they were excited to get a picture with me and stuff. I'm like, oh, that was kind of cool.
What's your day?
It was really cool that I got to do it with my daughter, because actually it was her van that we drove there, because she bought a van to do her van life thing this spring. So I was like, hey, you're gonna go to Oklahoma with me, because she wants to be an artist, and so she needs to see you. If you want to do this, it's work. You got to hustle.
Yep.
And so I wanted her to go with me. Packed up the van and drove there. And it was just great for her to see the people's response to what I was doing. So that was really cool. And hopefully inspiring to her as well.
Well, hopefully she dug it. I mean, if she's going to be an artist, these trade shows are pretty essential in the beginning.
Yeah.
Especially. Let's see, we got a question for you from Black Hills. Says, massive antlers, how long have you kept one growing for? So I guess what's the longest grow you've done?
I would say maybe 5 months or so. Probably that black reishi.
Okay.
My goal is not to see how long I can get one to go, or to see how tall or anything like that.
You're looking for aesthetically pleasing, so
yeah, exactly. Color, because to get it to go super long and all that, you can do that, but you sacrifice the color. Everything darkens up and it becomes kind of a solid color, and I don't like that.
I've noticed that on the RDTN2. My favorite is when it turns from white to gold. And this last grow, I let it continue on till it grew as big as it was going to grow, basically. And I lost all the gold except a tiny little smidge.
Yeah, one is timing, very specific on timing. And then with RD2, TN2, sometimes I find that I leave it on the block to let the color develop a little more. And then sometimes if it's developing too fast or it's right where I want, then I'll chop it off the block and let it dry that way to slow the darkening.
Okay,
that's smart.
So yeah, a lot of what I do is to preserve the coloring is just timing. And maybe I leave it on the block a little longer, let it dry on the block, or sometimes if it's where I want it and I don't want it to change much, I'll cut it off like fresh, let it dry like that, and then that will maintain some more of the coloring. So yeah, it's all just what I think looks the best and just playing around, figuring it out. But
Absolutely.
Yeah, colors definitely develop after harvest, so that's always in my mind.
So you're looking, it's almost like the way a tattoo artist goes. I'm not just looking at ink, I'm looking at how the ink is going to look through your skin, that kind of thing. So you're like looking into the future going, how is this going to look after it continues to darken after I've got you. So there's a little bit of intuition and a little just experience in there,
and knowing the specific genetics, how it finishes up, or how it dries and darkens. I mean, all those things.
Yeah. So it sounds like you have to do kind of like so when we do the Mycology, or like we're testing strains we breed or strains that we've collected or that have been donated to us. We'll oftentimes we'll grow 10 blocks out as our first test, and like the 10 blocks will be, we'll pick some when they look like they're at peak, but then what we have found is if we will allow at least like 2 blocks to just go until they look like they're starting to rot on the block, and I kind of hate to put it that way, but it's basically like, I didn't know for Pathfinder. I thought Pathfinder oyster yields were terrible because we would pick it, when it was still tiny as the cap flipped. But then we found that if we let it flip, it grew into this like tulip shape and then continued growing. And that's when it put on most of its weight. So letting things go a little bit too far has allowed us to see oh, some of these things are actually better at this point. Some of these things are better when the cap flips, and some of these things are better when the cap, you get it when it's still, concave, that kind of thing. And so sounds like you're having to do the same thing where you're like, well, just let this go to see what happens.
Yeah, it's all, a lot of what I do is sight. Just I just obsessively
sit and
watch.
Wait.
I just watch them and I can just anticipate what they're doing, or if the longer, a lot of times when you have a longer white tip, it's in a rapid growth period. If you start seeing that the whiteness shrink and your color, your red to orange to yellow to white is turning more of a solid, it's finishing up. And so then I'll get it out of there real quick, because then I know it's going to develop a little more as it's drying. So yeah, it's people always they just want specific parameters and just do this, because that's how a lot of people learn. But this is not like that. You're not just gonna.
Yeah, it's not just a plug and play kind of stuff. Yeah. It's not A plus B equals C. It's algebra.
People are asking me if they want specifics, and think it's just plug and play, and yeah, you're gonna get the result. But I can't even get the same result every time.
Yeah.
Because if the temperature outside is different, that affects. If my air conditioner is running, that affects the humidity
outside, yeah,
and all that. So really I do pretty well just in the grow tents with no fans or anything like that. It's just when the weather extremes hit, like if it's super hot and the AC is running 24/7, that can affect things. So there's those little things that pop up, but really you just watch the mushrooms and adjust. That's really what it is.
That makes a lot of sense.
That's how if they're enjoying the environment or what. And the thing is, a lot of times I can look at somebody's grow and immediately see what the issue is.
Yeah.
If it's like real faded and pale, then I know they have like a terrible light source, and
right.
They're not getting any color because they read that light's not important and it's only so it knows which direction to go, which. Okay, well, maybe, but yes, you can grow mushrooms with minimal light, but I think light is very important. Way more.
Oh, especially mushrooms produce melanin, which tells me that they want the light, that there's something to the light. So
I try to recreate nature. Basically, in nature, they're getting the most powerful full spectrum light on the planet, or not even on the planet, in whatever.
Right. The light hits the planet. We'll call it on the planet. So, Chris Hiles wants to know if there's a particular strain or cultivar you work with. I see we've talked about that there's a bunch, but I'm going to refine the question a little bit and be like, is there one that in particular that you like more than the others, or how's that work for you?
Nah, not like a favorite. I have like
all of them.
I have like 5 or 6 that I always run. The black, the lucidum, TF05.
Is that the lucidum, or is that?
That's a multipylium from Industrial Fungi.
The one that branches and branches and branches.
Yeah, your RD2TN is one. Hartman now, that I'm always going to run that one. Those, and then I feel like I'm forgetting something. I just gotta look around because I have mushrooms.
Got them everywhere.
The tiger reishi is pretty. I like that one.
It's so beautiful. It's just for me, it's very hit or miss.
Yeah, it is. It is not as consistent, but the morphology that I'm getting is ridiculous. So I'm definitely still experimenting with that one.
Oh yeah.
So yeah, do I have a favorite? No, but I have ones that I like to grow, and there's some that I grow one time and then I don't like them. I won't grow them again.
I've had that with a couple. In fact, there was one that was just donated recently that I trialed out next to the RDTN2. Which anything that's donated gets banked, so it's not like I don't throw anything away, but it's just it did not grow the way I wanted it all. It didn't. I did not. It was slow. Which is definitely not something I like for reishi. I want reishi to be fast.
I know there's this. I've noticed that there's a group of people that like it's almost like cool if your reishi grow went for so long. Like, oh, my grow was 7 months. I'm like, first of all, I've never had a grow that went 7 months, and I would not grow something that took that long. I could do, I would rather do 3 grows in that
in that same period of time. Yeah.
Yeah. Like that's not a badge of honor that people think it is. Like, cause somebody will post, cause I'm in the mushroom growing group on Facebook a lot. I help people and I post my own stuff, but, a lot of times somebody will be like, oh, this reishi grow took 6 months. And I'm like, something's not right. I mean, that's like a month and a half or, 2 months. So if you dial in the conditions and you have the conditions are right, and then your light, your grows will be faster than if not. A lot of people have slow grows because they're just not doing it properly. The conditions aren't good, and they're using little string lights, which works. You can do that. You can grow gourmets. It works fine, but it's not going to work.
I would argue that it's not necessarily something you could do with gourmets as well, because I've noticed there was a farm here. They're out of business now, so I'm not gonna rag on them, but by name. But everything was grown real in the dark, and their blues were always faded. Their golds always were pale. Even the whites didn't seem to have a bright white to them. Yeah. So like I feel like even the white oysters, which you wouldn't think would need help in the melanin department, seem like they better expressed when we had better lighting on them. In fact, half my grow room right now is in darkness, and I can see the difference side by side. So I've got to get those lights rewired back in.
Yeah, and then I haven't seen this in a lab. I have heard somebody talk about it before, and it makes sense to me that just the beneficial properties would be better.
I think so.
With a light source. That's just I don't know. That's just my mind just thinks that's common sense. Like that's that's just what it is. Like I don't even think that's a question, but I don't know. I haven't done side by sides, but I know like with white buttons, don't they hit them with UV light before they? I've heard that they do that.
Yeah, to up the vitamin D content and stuff. And I think even the portobellos get light. That's why they turn brown. I could be wrong about that, but I think that's the case. Chris Isle said, I like Josh, even if he's a Chiefs fan.
Yeah. It's hard to wear this after the Super Bowl.
I believe it. He said, I forgive you, Josh, just like I forgive my wife for the Chiefs. Haha, go Hawks.
Yeah. That was a nice game, but I'm not. I would have been upset for weeks back in my old self, but now things like that don't affect me.
Yeah,
I've just changed much.
Yeah, that's I've never really been into sports. I've always found it hard to get into. The only ones I really care about are the ones that like are here local. So like I like Vols football because Vols football is, that's the local school here. Mm-hmm. But then even then it's like, well, how many of those kids are actually local? Most of those kids are traveling here, right? So I don't know. I've just never really been big into it. But Mass Mofo says, do you think fungi are territorial? If I grow some outside and compost, other types always seem to compete. I'll answer that. I do think that they're territorial somewhat. I think that they're opportunistically both competitive and cooperative. Yeah. So, I think that we see networks build, and you might see, I think some fungi probably play well with each other, and then sometimes they're very territorial. But I will say that the same log that we cloned the Mossy Creek oyster on, we also cloned a gold oyster on about a month later. And almost at the exact same spot. So it tells me that what we see a lot of times are networks are kind of built around each other and over each other and kind of threaded through each other. So I think that they are, again, both, you're talking about like a large kingdom, one of the largest kingdoms on Earth. So it's going to have, if you think about how diverse animals are a tiny kingdom compared to fungi. And plants are actually as diverse as plants are. They're a small kingdom compared to fungi. So fungi are going to be as extreme as any animal or plants are going to be in the organisms.
I get a ton of different mushrooms growing in my raised garden beds where I put all my spent blocks.
Mm-hmm.
And
like you probably get a lot of the, especially the ephemeral stuff, like the inky caps and stuff, right?
I get all kinds of weird stuff, all kinds of slime molds and all that.
Yes.
But no
Dog
reishi.
vomit.
Yeah, all kinds of stuff. So I'm excited about that this year because now I'm looking for stuff more after last year's fine. Now I'm like everywhere I go, I'm just like on the lookout.
Dude, when your senses get keyed up on it, it's hard to turn them off. Like I'll go to a children's, game, or like not really a game, but Aislinn plays in the school band, so we'll go to like see her play, and then on the way out, I'm checking every piece of wood that I can. I'm checking the mulch piles. When we leave church, I'm checking the mulch piles. Like it's just it's hard to turn it off. But
I feel like they're looking at me sometimes. Like I'll just out of the corner of my eye, like how when somebody's looking at you or something, I'll feel that sometimes, and I'll turn around and then I'll see a mushroom over there. I'm like, God damn. But there is some kind of, I don't know. There is some kind of weird connection that I have with mushrooms. It's just I don't know how to explain it. But humans and mushrooms are meant to coexist, and we're meant to experience their power. I can tell you that. I think it should be required. Like maybe you graduate high school and you have to eat a couple grams of some actives or something. Maybe a yearly checkup where you gotta
you go to the doctor and they hand you a handful or something.
Mental check.
Oh, it's funny.
I think society would be better if it was more acceptable and people had more access.
Well, I certainly agree that it seems to me to be a lot less dangerous than alcohol. I mean, we've talked about alcohol 2 or 3 times so far,
Nicotine.
and even nicotine, but I enjoy nicotine. I like cigars, but the for some reason alcohol. I love making alcohol. I love brewing, and then I love like a little bit of tasting. But as far as like drinking, thankfully, I've gotten drunk a couple of times in my life and realized I really don't like it. Yeah. I'm not a big alcohol person, so I got really lucky in that. Even though my family is full of alcoholics, not talking about like my mom and dad, my grandfather, thankfully, he put his foot down. He's like, we're teetotalers now because his father and his, he had fathers and uncles and stuff that were alcoholics, and he broke the cycle, thankfully. But I've never gotten to where I enjoyed it, so it became, very thankful in that way that it's not been a struggle for me.
I can see why it sometimes runs in families because how my mind works. The alcohol does. Look at what I do. That's not a normal thing, So I for years I had to have that because it just, I don't know, gave me some relief from
didn't have a healthy lifestyle, so you're on a healthy crutch.
I just didn't understand what was happening in my mind and all that. So a lot of it is just
chasing relief, like you said.
Understanding what's happening, being aware of your thoughts and all these things. And so that's something I've talked to my kids about, and because a lot of breaking cycles is that kind of stuff. Yeah. Unresolved inner work that didn't get done gets passed down, and then
I will say I've been really lucky, man, that my mother has really worked on herself. My grandfather really worked on himself. My dad has really worked on himself. I've really worked on myself. So thankfully, my family has done a really good job of being about that kind of thing, about, working on yourself, not getting, like I remember whenever I did start having the occasional beer in front of my parents, like that was a big deal. But because I can handle it in moderation, I feel like, they were like, okay, that's not such a terrible thing. But again,
there's that fear, and
there's definitely that fear, and it was out of love. But like, thankfully, like my whole family is like, well, we've always been really big on working on ourselves, working on each other, watching out for each other. Like I've been lucky to have cycle breakers in my family like that. So
It's important, and not everybody has that. That's part of the reason why
Yep.
I even tell my story and be vulnerable and put it out there. You know, I don't really want to be out there and be like, yeah, I used to have to drink just to be able to live my life.
It's brave
but-
that you have.
Yeah, and I'm glad I did, because I know somebody can hear something I say, and know that there's hope. Because there was a point where I was like, there's no way I can ever not drink, especially to go out and socialize and stuff. But so I know somebody can hear that and just know that you can change. There's other ways. Just really understanding how you work, how your brain, your machine works. That's the biggest thing. And then you can, from there, learn your strengths and weaknesses and ways to cope. But this is not things that we learn. We're told just to tough it out and be strong,
stuff it down,
and put some dirt on it, and I did that for a long time, and I hope to save some other people from having to go through that. Just if I had somebody at some point just explain about your mind and your thoughts and anxiety and depression and all that stuff, just give it a voice, I would have had a lot less suffering.
Yeah.
Well, and to recognize that what you were doing was a coping mechanism, that in itself, there's a whole psychological, it's a whole study just on the responses to specific traumas. And those traumas can be being overworked, being burnt out, doing something that you don't want to do, but you're doing it anyway in a sacrificial manner for your family, like you described earlier. Like it's psychology is kind of another thing that I've always been fascinated by and really, really like, especially child psychology.
Yeah. It's important.
Oh yeah, it's incredibly important for sure. Let's see. I'll real quick. Someone was saying that they want some reishi spawn and liquid culture. I will say I just pulled up here his Etsy store, the Fungi Florist. He's got some artwork on there. He's got some other stuff. He has mentioned that he's going to be uploading some more stuff eventually, but there are options for his liquid cultures on there, as well as it looks like extracts and stuff. So
a lot of times what I'm growing, I have on there because so many people reach out. And, it's just I want them to have access, and part of the YouTube is I want people to try to grow along with me. That's a big part of it. My battery's getting low, so in case
okay. Well, in that case, real quick, because I was about to do another sponsorship, but before we do, what is there anything that you want people to come pay attention to? Like, let's point out your Instagram. Number one, your Instagram is the Fungi Florist, and that is let me share this tab again. So you have your Instagram, which is just fungi_florist. So people can follow you there. You have a YouTube channel that you just started like yesterday.
This morning, actually.
Oh, this morning. Shoot. Well, look at that. Your subscriber count's already gone up. But for anybody interested in learning how he grows, he's going to be documenting a lot more of this stuff. So go ahead and subscribe to his YouTube channel, at the Fungi Florist. That's just one word, the Fungi Florist. That way you can support his work, but also learn some cool, neat tips and tricks on how to grow reishi. And then, is there anything else that you want me to push?
I do have Facebook. I think it's just the Fungi Florist page. Okay. So I am on there, and I try to post in a lot of groups. One, because Facebook wants me to, and they're paying me to. So,
absolutely.
If I can grow mushrooms and post pictures and be able to
get paid for it,
yeah. So it's a struggle right now, but I feel like I'm an overnight success waiting to happen. I'm like over 2 years in, but I feel it. It's like coming anytime.
I get it, man. You just got to hit some inflection points.
all of a sudden successful and like, you didn't see, I didn't leave my house for a year just growing mushrooms.
Isn't that the truth of it? It is, if somebody wants to support your work, is the best thing to do to go purchase something on Etsy, or do you have another interface that you like to use? Or
Etsy is what I have now, but you can always reach out to me on Instagram or
Instagram
Facebook
or
or
Facebook.
Etsy. Really, either way. I mean, I have all the pieces on the wall are pretty much, if I can ship them, they're for sale. But I don't have a bunch of stuff listed right now because I was finishing up a big production run and I just couldn't focus on that. So I took a bunch of stuff off there.
Well, you want to be able to keep content in the back of behind you anyway. So I would only sell out, you sell out what you can replace.
Yeah. So I have other rooms that are packed full. So
there we go.
Yeah, just reach out on any of those and just keep an eye on my Etsy because that's probably for now the easiest place. I'll just randomly upload a bunch of pieces and stuff.
Okay.
And then they go pretty quick. So
good.
Yeah,
and that's how we'll get people to support your work, is to basically just reach out to you, but also check out your Etsy. But if they have a question about a particular piece, make sure to message you on Instagram or Facebook or even Etsy.
Some link I've heard about, like it's like Ko-fi or something.
Oh yeah.
Somewhere people can donate or whatever. I want to find something like that. If maybe somebody doesn't want to buy something, but they want to, because really a lot of the money goes to me buying wood pellets and supplements and the
electric bill.
So that's supporting the YouTube is supporting the supplies that I need to make the content to show people. So
our Patreon. Yep.
Yeah, that's something I've thought about. I just haven't. It's another, thing to figure out. But all that will come down the line. Because everybody has some people don't like Facebook, but they like Instagram. Some people like YouTube, but not this or that. So, and then some things I just don't like TikTok, for example. That's probably a good place to be, but I just don't.
Yeah, people have tried to get me on TikTok for ages. I can't stand it. I can't.
Yeah, I just don't like the format. And
like, I knew a guy that went from my Discord, and he's like, "Well, I'm just going to start a TikTok," because he had a YouTube that never went anywhere, and then he did a TikTok, and then next thing you know, he blew up, blew up huge on TikTok, but then like he just stopped putting in reps into YouTube. I like YouTube. To me, is like a slow burn, like it builds over time. And the more you put, the longer you put into it, the better the results you get. Whereas TikTok does seem to be a little bit more immediate. Let me real quick, in case before your battery. You okay with me doing some rapid fire questions at you?
Yeah, go for it.
Okay, we'll do some rapid fire. We'll keep them short, and then we'll let you sign off so that you can save your battery.
Oh, it'll probably go off before that. So if I just black out,
we'll know what to do.
But.
What size reishi block would you give to a very artistic chef?
What size reishi block would I give to a very artistic chef?
I don't even know. My standard is usually 12.
I mean, I get the best grows on, a 10 to 12 pound block. That's what I like to grow.
There we go.
On. So just a standard big block.
Gotcha. Have you tried molding the antlers into a specific shape, like skulls, owls, etc.? I've not seen you do any molding of the antlers, have you?
Molding the antlers in this. No. I mold the mycelium and then grow.
Yeah.
But
that does give me an idea about being able to like put them together, because they will fuse. I've seen.
Yeah.
So that, like you were saying, there's like a bunch of things you've not even got to play with yet.
Yeah.
How do you keep the antlers intact together while trying to remove for putting on the wall or to keep as decor? So how do you remove them from the block without breaking them?
Knife.
Okay, so you're just cutting them off.
Yeah. If you let the block dry too long, it gets too hard, and then it gets difficult. You have to use like some kind of saw or something. But usually maybe like a couple days. I wait.
Gotcha.
And
we used a bandsaw.
Yeah.
And the bandsaw works really well for us. But we do let stuff dry oftentimes on the block before we the bandsaw it. So, any tips and tricks for black reishi?
High CO2 and light. I mean, same as anything. It's just black likes higher CO2. So if I run black, I run a bunch of blocks together.
Okay.
That's
So you're throwing a bunch of them together, so they're mass producing CO2.
Vacuum chamber.
Yeah, there you go.
Yeah.
How to keep the reishi as beautiful as you can and as long as you can post harvest for the beautiful art. So how are you preserving them other than drying?
Depends on the species. Some species I just dry.
Okay.
And with any of them, the better the color when you harvest, the better they look after they dry. And then some of them I put like a clear acrylic spray on.
Okay.
If it's
like the artistic fix-it sprays.
Yeah, like a Mod Podge spray.
Okay. Which warmer weather Gano species would you all suggest to grow for high levels of medicinal compounds? Oh, we both talked about we don't really know much about the medicinal, the reishi. Yeah. I would say just the Lingji or the lucidum are the kind of the standards.
Is high too.
Yeah, black is supposed to be really high.
China, they use that for like as a supplement for like chemo patients and stuff. So, and I've heard people that do extracts say that black is really high
that's right. Samantha's mom took the black reishi while she had her fight with cancer. I forgot about that. What kind of light do you use for yours? Are you using LEDs or
full spectrum? Yeah, just
okay.
Kind of good full spectrum light.
All right. Let's see. Black Hill says, I've always wondered about grafting two reishi together with the same genetics, and will they continue to grow? Witness some out of the country grows that appear to be grafted. I will say, we did talk about how they'll fuse, and I did see. I want to say it was Terrestrial Fungi who was like, no, I think it was Matt Shink. It may have been both of them, but he was cutting sections out and then grafting them in different directions.
I've seen a bunch of that, and I have had some accidentally do that, and then I did have some where I had a block growing up, and then I put one sideways and had them grow into each other, fused. So yeah, it works. That's another thing that I want to get into because you could do all kinds of crazy stuff.
Oh, I bet.
Not all species work, but some of them will definitely, because some of them will just like hit each other and kind of grow around.
Oh, okay.
But some of them will just fuse very quickly. The black, you have to be careful.
Isn't that cool?
The black, if they touch, they start fusing like immediately, even though it's a slow grower.
They're just like, hey, I recognize you.
Yeah.
What moisture content do you shoot for in substrate? And do you shoot for higher or lower depending on the projects you were aiming for?
I don't have a specific moisture content. I just have an approximate recipe that I use. Okay. So basically, I would say the basic recipe, like 1,000 grams of wood pellets, 150 grams of Timothy grass or wheat bran, to about 1,425 milliliters of water.
Yeah, I can't do that math in my head on the weight, but I got you. Oh. Okay. But that's the basic recipe. And then you just kind of use that for most things. I mean, that's the same way we do. We standardize on a recipe and then work from there. So.
Double it for the big blocks and go from there. I don't get into percentages and all that. I mean, because different products are going to be different wood pellets, everything.
Yep. Does Josh eat mushrooms or make tea from them, or does he just grow for art?
I grow art and I eat mushrooms. I wish I was a better chef because I would eat mushrooms all the time, but I'm not a great. I mean, I can cook some things. But dude,
Ben was telling us that he took a hunk of reishi, and now he started doing this every time now through the winter. But he makes a big beef stew, like in the crock pot, and as soon as he puts in like the beef and potatoes and stuff, he puts in a big hunk of reishi.
Yeah,
and he says, man, it produces such a deep flavor when you've got all the onions and carrots and stuff mixed in with it. So I want to try that. I haven't tried it yet, but I definitely, because like crock pot cooking is my favorite way because it's just throw it in and forget it. But
I cook a lot less these days because a lot of times it's just me around.
Yeah, that's what I've heard from my parents. We're talking about that, about how, oh yeah, you kids aren't home. We We don't cook, big meals like we used to.
It annoys me because I'll make a big meal and then nobody eats it, and there's a bunch of leftovers and nobody will eat the leftovers, and then and then when I throw out a bunch of food, then I'm annoyed. I'm like, all right, I'm not doing that again.
And now that we have teens,
Yeah.
we're experiencing this.
Yeah.
Oh man, teens are eating me out of house and home, and except for now that they've got jobs, they're working, and I'm like, look, you've got rice, you've got eggs, you've got all this stuff here at the house that you can eat. If you want junk food, I'm not paying for that. You can buy that yourself.
Same thing. My daughter just recently, a couple days ago, was like, you need to get some stuff for us to eat. I'm like, there's all kinds of stuff. You might have to cook it.
Right.
You might have to put it in the microwave or something, but I'm not buying a bunch of just processed, quick stuff that you can quickly consume.
Oh yeah, because that stuff's expensive, number one,
Yeah.
and number two, it's not really all that great for you. Like for sure. I think I've gotten through most of the rapid fire questions.
I will say one thing.
Yeah, please.
One of the most common things I get is people think that reishi is cordyceps because of that damn show, The Last of Us, which I haven't seen, but I hear about all the time. And so many people think my grows are cordyceps. Now, I've even had people argue with me about it, tell me I don't know what I'm talking about.
Isn't that? It's hilarious.
I actually watched. I'm now on episode 4. I just watched episode 3 of the show, and it's funny because I'm sitting there looking at it, I'm like, oh well, that like the whole mycelial mat that's growing is producing cordyceps, turkey tail, reishi, everything all off the same mat, and you're like, that's not how it doesn't produce club fungus and conch fungus and shelf fungus and all that. Like, no, this is some sort of unholy hybrid.
And you're talking about people arguing with you, and you're trying to tell them straight. Andrew has to stop me sometimes because I get a bit of a maniacal glee out of just telling them, and then if they do not listen, then I'll the malicious compliance.
Yeah.
I'll be like, yeah, totally, this is the most unique strain ever. It's bad.
Yeah. I mean, I had somebody recently on a post that was going viral, and all the comments were good, and then this person was like, this guy doesn't even know what he's talking about, you should have at least looked it up first. And I was like, dude, you have no idea who you're trying to insult or how dumb it's making you look, because trust me, I know.
Let 'em.
Sometimes they're just trolling too, though, man. That's one of the problems. Like, you have to wonder, like, are you being serious with me right now? Or are you just winding me up? Because sometimes they're just winding you up.
Funny enough, that will increase the virility of it. Andrew has actually intentionally said things wrong just to start an argument in the comments.
And again, because somebody got mad at that last time, I will like mispronounce something or something. Like, I don't give out false information. Like,
yeah.
I'm not going to tell you that this will grow something if it's not going to grow it. But I would like mispronounce something, and then people will correct me. Like, there's comments going back on that stuff, or like I'll miss something like crazy with alcohol, and then talk about I know I don't need to use that much alcohol, because people would just start going off in the comments like crazy.
Or intentionally pronounce the Latin name in a certain way. It's not even.
That's what I was saying. Mispronounce it.
Wrong. Yeah.
Sorry. Ed said, I used to consider myself an introvert, but after 250 videos on YouTube, I don't know if I can say that anymore. Josh will be fine. You seem like a natural and honest person. People admire honesty.
Well, I appreciate that.
Yeah. When, Ed's he's got I don't know how big his channel is, but I know.
Seen him on some different, I think I've seen him on Mycology and.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
I think he was on Mycology. I've never been on Mycology. I saw that you were on. How did you like that?
Yeah, it was great. I mean, just the fact that people want to have me on is mind blowing to me. So,
makes sense.
Yeah, I'm always willing to talk mushrooms.
Right.
I need one of those shirts that says I'm an introvert but willing to discuss.
Willing to talk about mushrooms.
That is me, really.
I feel you there, man. I'm very much there. All right, well, it's time for me to hit a sponsor, and I'm afraid that we're going to lose you.
Because it said 10% last time, so I don't know.
Yeah, who knows? And they're not going to last long. In fact, it seems like your mic has actually been kind of going down a little bit, so you're probably running out of juice. But in that case, I guess what we'll do is we'll go ahead and call it, and then Samantha and I'll continue on for about 30 minutes after you head out, because we've got a couple of things we got to hit anyways. But Josh, dude, you're mind blowing. I appreciate you coming on.
Yeah.
Yeah, man, like it's been killer. I've been wanting to be able to talk to you and geek out about mushrooms for a while, so I really appreciate you joining us.
Yeah, thank you. We'll definitely do it again, and check out my YouTube. Help me get that monetized so I can put out a bunch of good content for you guys. Not the regular stuff. There's already a lot of that. I want to, do some new stuff and take some input from other people and just see what kind of crazy things we can come up with. So just support that, and it'll pay itself back to you. I promise that.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Yeah, guys, make sure you go check out his YouTube, his Instagram, Facebook, and of course his Etsy page. Josh, thank you again, man.
Thank you. Appreciate it.
Yep, take it easy. That's excellent, guys. All right, so we're still gonna talking a thing. Samantha and I are gonna stick around for about another 30 minutes. We are gonna hit a sponsorship real quick. Before we do, I want to make sure that we tell everyone the discount code for this week is Reishi20. So that's REISHI 20. That's for 20% off.
With the E and the I.
I do that all the time. But when it comes to Reishi, I'm definitely dyslexic. But Reishi20 to save 20% off anything on our website, site-wide. So you can use that on anything you want. Just make sure to use Reishi20. So again, let me hit.
We saw you, Room.
Do what?
Room from Mush. He was like, "Hey, where's the discount code?" And then you announced it.
I didn't actually see that, but
I did. I thought you did it intentionally.
We'll be right back.
Introducing the future of mycology, Dr. Silurian's elixir of mycelial mastery. This isn't your average culture mix. It's a revolution in a packet, crafted for the dedicated cultivator seeking unparalleled growth. Experience the visual alchemy of this masterful brew. As you mix 10 grams with 500 milliliters of water, watch the solution transform into a rich amber spectacle, the hallmark of a nutrient-dense sanctuary for your burgeoning mycelium. This is where vibrant color meets vibrant life, setting our elixir apart from the ordinary clear liquid cultures. Prepare to be captivated. Mix 10 grams of Dr. Silurian's elixir with 500 milliliters of water, add a stir bar for thorough integration, and sterilize the blend at 15 psi for 45 minutes. Once cooled, introduce your favorite culture into this perfectly prepared, nutrient-rich environment. Watch in awe as the elixir works its magic, unveiling a mycelial masterpiece before your eyes. Choose Dr. Silurian's Elixir of Mycelial Mastery for a mycological adventure that's as visually enchanting as it is potent.
Hey, y'all. We're back. We were just discussing date plans. I was like eggs and bacon, and she was like spaghetti. So we're going to go spaghetti, I guess. No.
Meatballs.
Do what?
I said meatballs.
Meatballs. We like meatballs.
Protein.
You like
plant protein, though.
You like protein? I like protein. We know you like protein. Taco Bell commercial. Any of you guys seen that? It's a great commercial. All right, guys. Dude, it was excellent having Josh on. I'm going to try to go through here. I saw some other questions that I kind of, if they were from me, I basically just skipped them. So I'm going to try to get to them. So I'm going back up the chat, but I'm not sure where we stopped. Gano question. Which warmer weather Gano species would you all suggest to grow for high levels of medicinal compounds? Like he was saying, the black reishi probably is one of the best ones. I think there's a lot of polypore stuff. There's a great book called Fungal Pharmacy. And if you look in there, there's a lot of segments on different medicinal polypores. And there'll be a large section on Ganoderma, a large section, I'm sure. I need to eat some more mushrooms for the melanin, so I'm not so pasty. You need to be in the sun for that.
Then you become red.
Yeah, no kidding. Light helps them produce antioxidants and pigments, I guess, even beta carotene in oyster mushrooms. I didn't know beta carotene was found in any significant amount in oyster mushrooms. That's pretty cool. You're a UT fan also? I'm glad to hear it, Ann. UT is the way to go. It's the only football team I care about. I'm a firm believer that many mushrooms would be extinct without human interaction. I definitely think that animal life, there's a lot of mushrooms that rely on animal life. And as far as having lines being come up on your stocky block, I've had some stuff like that before. In fact, when that's happened before, I've been tempted to like clone it, but I don't think I ever did much. People with fast alcohol dehydrogenase get drunk faster. I must have that because I'm a lightweight. Friends don't let friends get drunk too much. It's true. And I will say that anytime I have been drunk, it has been with very responsible setting, and usually not even shooting for it, just accidentally drinking too much. Especially in my younger years, that's whenever I kind of hit it, because I was like trying to learn where my limit was. Like, this feeling is before you almost go too far. So but I would always do it around my friends or around Samantha, someone to make sure that I don't do something stupid like jump off a building or, whatever.
Gosh, don't do that.
Nobody ever told me to take it easy on alcohol except myself. Yeah, man, sometimes it's just the way you got to do it. You got to learn the hard way. Thank you, Mast. I wish they would have, though. Yeah, I wish people had. My parents did tell me not to. And then as a rebellious rebellious early 20s-year-old, I rebelled and was like, drinking is a thing.
I was never really attracted to that sort of thing as a coping. I went into like the studiousness and the sketching and art specifically for all my woes. And then
I just eat my feelings.
I got sick and had a sore throat, and Andrew gave me cough medicine, which was bourbon. I don't remember what it was.
I told you it was the cure for COVID, and it is in moderation. But you don't just keep dashing it down. You sip it.
I didn't know. I just drank it, like all of it.
You didn't
it was
know.
like
I kept telling you. I was like, that's too much. So like the one
this
time
last year was the first time I really.
Samantha's never drank. Samantha's always been a teetotaler.
And I got sick.
And she did get sick.
It was horrible.
And then she was like, Andrew, I just blah, blah.
I'll never trust you again.
Yeah, she's like, I'll never try. I'm like, I was literally telling you to stop. And she's like, yeah, but it helped my throat. And I was like, that was the point, is that a sore throat can be helped with a little.
I couldn't feel the sore throat anymore.
Not until you started throwing up. Is reishi mycelium one of the strongest out of other fungi? I think that it is one of the most aggressive. Strongest is a interesting term, so in that I don't know that I can easily define the strongest, but I can tell you that there are aggressive things like oysters and largely a lot of reishi, but not all reishi is. So I just subbed to the Fungi Florist. Things will be all right. Heck yeah, go support him, guys. Like, I love to see. I want to see the artwork.
Some awesome stuff.
Yeah, I want to see the artwork thing. I loved it when I saw Ryan Paul Gates of Terrestrial Fungi doing it. I think he switched to cordyceps. I'm not sure if that became just an interesting. I know he got into the mushroom breeding, so he's been breeding the cordyceps.
I actually have a few ideas for him. Like the picture that he showed with someone at the Oklahoma Festival. You should totally do a bunch of picture frames, and then people could buy the picture frames, put the picture in. I'd do that. You can hang it up on the wall.
There's a question for you. When are we going to have Bioprospector t-shirts back?
Ask Tobias.
Okay. I'll bring it up to Tobias. We'll try to see if I can get it hooked up by next week.
I have the design. We used to have everything automated, and then whenever our website got attacked by a bot, and it would like put it in
So it
3,000 orders all in an hour. It was insane.
It was crazy.
I went to print orders, and the printer was just spitting out loads of paper all over the floor. It was horrible.
Or it would order and then immediately cancel or be denied. I'm about to order. What's the code? Okay, yeah, that's the one Samantha was talking about. My teens cost me over $1,000 a month for food. I don't doubt it. My parents said that they saved like $1,000 a month on milk alone when my brother and I moved out. Because I'll drink a gallon of milk a day easy. I mean, I used to. Nowadays, I have it in my shake, and that's usually it. But if you talked about spraying reishi mushrooms with alcohol to bring back the shine and make lacquered again, I saw a Paul Stamets tidbit. So he did it with isopropyl. I assume that's for the artwork. Why do I do that? Just coat it in resin. Just coat it in resin and don't alcohol it. The resin will make it look wet all the time. if you're preserving it. If you're going to eat it for medicine or make a tea or whatever, then don't spray it with isopropyl alcohol. So it to me, it doesn't make sense to do it either one. I was really surprised with that. Didn't you all say you can plant a button mushroom and then a lion's mane would grow? I've never heard that.
Doesn't the alcohol in the reishi give it like an opaque kind of frosted look to it?
The alcohol, it does after it dries.
That's what I was thinking.
Yeah, it
so
kind of destroys. It actually makes it worse. Yeah, from what I've said or from what I've seen. Thank you, Kafer.
Maybe an oil or a coconut oil or something like that. That would be, I don't know.
I agree. Very cool and fun to see that growing can be done in such an artistic manner. I'm 100% with that. I love the art. Oh my God, you love Reishi 20. Don't forget that code, guys. Make sure to go ahead and put in your order so I can take somewhere nice for spaghetti and meatballs and a salad. Deer hunters hang antlers on the wall. The Fungi Florist hangs reishi antlers on the wall. I really like that. Yeah, Charles really does have a narrator's voice. He really does. He came in and one time I was trying to record that Dr. Solarian's commercial, and he's like, here, let me give it a go. So I left him alone with the record options and edited it down, and there we go.
I did screenshot your comment, Jake, and I texted it to him.
Oh, did you?
Yeah. He'll be happy with the positive feedback, I'm sure.
As long as it's chunky spaghetti. Oh, dude, no, these guys make it right. The meatballs are gigantic.
Yeah,
it's like 2 ox testicles, yeah.
You have to cut them in half. Well, I cut them in quarters just to be able to put the
I just cut like a little piece off at a time, and because I like it. A little bite with every bit of noodles. What are your favorite mushrooms to add to your meatball recipe? Wow, that's a good question. I've never tried that, but I would do it as a mushroom powder. A gnocchi would probably be my go-to for first off. So like powder some dried gnocchi, throw it in the meat. I'd probably throw it in there and then let it sit because it's going to draw some of the moisture out of the meat. And then, I'd cook that right up. Gosh, you guys are making me hungry. What medicinal mushrooms to give an old couple starting to show slight signs of early onset Alzheimer's? Jacob, I can't give medical advice legally in the States. Though I guess that if you're in Mongolia, you can't sue me, right?
Oh my gosh.
Lion's mane would be my go-to, or a combination of hericiums. You can always try the Stamets stack. I don't necessarily recommend this. This is just what I've heard has some pretty good early indications that it might potentially work, which would be the Stamets stack is a microdose of psilocybin with a dose of lion's mane mushrooms combined with niacin. The reasons for that is the psilocybin helps to create what they call neurogenesis, so the growing of neurons, which are historically pretty stable in your brain. And lion's mane is there for the the myelin sheath around your nerves, so the conductivity aspect. And then the niacin is to help stabilize the growth, I think. So I don't really know on the medicine side of things. Like, I don't like to give advice. That's just some things that I've heard. You look them up, talk to your doctors, do whatever you need to do, that kind of thing. 9 mg, 9 milligrams.
OMG.
I know, it's just messing. Lil Shoulder at a weird time. Charles, what was the weird time? What were we talking about that would be weird? How did you scale up from your basement, and what size room do you use now? Okay, so it depends, 0 Bites. We're not really a mushroom farm as much anymore, so we do more genetics testing. We do farm mushrooms. We sell them through distributors. So I no longer even really talk to very many restaurants. We have a few that we sell to directly, but very few. The main thing that we do is the genetics testing. So I only went down to one grow room. The one grow room I have is about a 12 by 20 foot room. And shut up when I was talking about getting drunk. Well, we had a lot of alcohol discussion this time. But because, some people struggle with it. But the golly, sorry. Oh, the 12 by 20 room. And then We had 3 of those. We're sitting in one. Incubation is behind us. This is the wall of incubation, and then incubation continues on that direction. The studio space continues that way. So there's you, the camera, lights, and all that kind of stuff. So this is another, like, this is bigger than the 12 by 20 room. So is the next one over. But we utilize one for incubation, one for the studio space. What used to be incubation is now Man of War's prototype shop. The now above our grow rooms is their lightweight storage and 3D print room, and the grow room that we have right now, we don't even typically fill the entire thing usually because we're just testing our genetics through there, getting them to chefs to get an idea of whether these mushrooms are good or not, and then pulling those through for the mycologium. So, but now, I mean, when we scaled up from the basement, our grow room in our basement, and our first grow room here, the one we're operating on now, were roughly the same size. I think that one was it was like an 11 by 20, where these are like 12 or 13 by 20s. So that kind of thing. We did not scale up from the first grow room. We had 3 grow rooms that we could have worked on, so we could have grown somewhere close to 2,500 to 3,000 pounds a week. But that was, yeah. Epoxy coating would work too. Oh, for the reishi to stabilize the wet look? Absolutely. Charles will be the official Mossy commercials narrator if he wants to be. I mean, he does have that voice. He's got a good voice for it. Is it true? I heard the benefits of lion's mane come from the mycelium, not the fruit. I don't have the answer for you on this.
It's highly debated.
It's highly debated. Both sides have good reason to think what they think. And both sides are probably wrong and right at the same time. So
I think it's kind of with the tinctures, with the different ways to make tinctures. I think there are benefits in one way and benefits in the other. And I think that if you were to take both and extract both of the benefits.
Well, it's like you hear only about lion's mane, but in the 2 studies that I've seen that are recent and good, they actually found the best benefit from a combination of hericenones, which means a combination of active compounds from different hericium species. That was far more effective than lion's mane by itself. Like very, very, very statistically relevant.
I'm looking at a nutritional standpoint as well. Like there's certain things that you could get from cooked broccoli over raw broccoli, Well,
it's true. So, I mean, you've got different ideas here. One is even strain to strain, you're going to have different active profiles. We see that large. I mean, like just psilocybin shows us that because the different strains they're working on have different varying amounts of the active compounds. That's going to track across other fleshy fungi, I imagine. So you have that set of variables, just the genetics between a single species. Then you have active compounds between different species. Then you have the extraction process, which Samantha was talking about right there, with how the broccoli's cooked. Then you've got what active compounds are found in different amounts in mycelium versus the different grains. Dr. Lloyd Lung, back in like the late 50s, early 60s, did a lot of work with. He was trying to produce as much psilocybin as possible in mycelium in a liquid submerged bioreactor, right? A submerged liquid bioreactor. And he used different sugars, and he found that different carbon sources, the sugar sources, actively affected the behavior of the mycelium and the amount of the active compound pretty greatly. So now you've got the nutrition of what it's being fed. So, Mass, the answer to your question is, there's just too much. There's just too much. Every single one of those sets of variables, and there's more than that, but every single one of those sets of variables has to be tested, and it's going to take years of testing before we can track, because you're talking about improvement in human cognitive ability, right? Just in that one, but who knows? There's like 400 and something ganodinic acids. We test for 1, maybe 4, depending on what company you're using. It's just, we don't know enough. So I'm real cautious with medicinal mushrooms.
Dude.
You have to be.
If we tested all of this stuff the way that the Fungi Florist grows antlers, we'd be getting somewhere, wouldn't we?
I mean, you're talking about just how prodigious
the
amount of work. I mean, maybe. It's way more expensive to do testing, though. And it's going to take, like I said, it's going to take years and years and years. We're probably not going to find. We're going to probably start finding a lot of the answers, about the time I die, if I live a good, natural, long life. If I hit 84 like my grandfather did, which who knows, but
I hope so.
I hope so.
We will.
I mean, I'll probably outlast
We
you
got
all.
this.
Awkward. Now you're leaving me hanging. Can you?
Oh.
Yeah. I was trying to help you. At Massimofa, I like the fruit. It has really improved my memory. I make a tea from it. I will say that anecdotally, people seem to prefer the fruit. Also, any folklore uses of mushrooms, I would about bet 99% of them, of the folklore uses of mushrooms, come from people taking fruit body, boiling water, or cooking, right? So most of the
Drinking
stuff
the
is
broth?
like,
Drinking the broth.
and drinking the broth, and making the tea, that kind of thing. So it's interesting because the folklore uses are fresh fruit body and using water as your solvent. So when we use alcohols as the solvent and let's say do ultrasonics or pressure extractions or other types of solvents or whatever, or we do it with the mycelium instead of the fruit body, we're changing the variables big time and we're chasing active compounds that we don't have good results for. My preferred method is water extractions, and so water extractions and the fruit bodies, and that's just because humans have found fungi to be useful and helpful, and the best thing that we're going to be able to do for now for immediate usage is to follow like the herbalist folklore usage. So that would be my recommendation if I were to ever give a recommendation. So that kind of thing. I think, like, let's say things that are hard to produce, like you can clone, you can grow the mycelial biomass of, but you can't fruit very easily. Maybe then I would start looking into taking this and doing extractions of the mycelium. But again, I would want to grow in a liquid broth. I'd want to strain it out. So much of what they're doing from the mycelium point of view is just starch from the grains you've been growing on. But again, I mean, how do you even know your dosage with mycelium versus fruit body? It's crazy. It's really, really crazy. And as Jacob just says right here, I wonder the efficacy of folklore use as seeing some cough medicines had devil's lettuce and highly refined poppy. That's true. Though that stuff was really useful for a time when we didn't have better things. So, it's my big answer to all of this is it's just too big, too complex, and we don't know enough yet to really, really, really make a good judgment call. If you get too big, it's harder to keep the microclimate steady. Yeah, it's true. Well, I find the bigger in the environment, the easier it is to keep the environment stable. But then, when you go too small, it's harder to keep it stable. But you do sometimes have a problem in the bigger places with hot spots and things like that. I actually came here to say maybe we should check the spores of mycelium under electron microscope to see better cooperation with the department would help. I mean, yeah, absolutely.
I would have one of those microscopes, like the really, really deep diving ones.
We should look on eBay and see if they're selling any of the old 80s models. I stack, so that is likely the contributor. Gotcha. Yeah, the stamen stack. I'd say that is probably part of it, but I will say that I've talked to some people who I highly trust in the extract field, and they've made suggestions to me on basically the water extraction methods. If y'all ever tried black or white truffles, I've never even tried them, like to eat them. I need to. I want to.
You got truffle oil.
Oh yeah, I did have truffle oil and I loved it. And that was real truffle oil, not the petroleum truffle oil derivative. But I have had a couple of companies reach out to me, but I have medical bills and I don't want to divert those funds to sample boxes right now of things that I'm probably not going to sell. I would just be buying truffles for myself. There's already people here in town who have a network of selling truffles. CPF Hattrick says, what's it going to take for Mossy Creek Mushrooms to start being a hub of this kind of testing you're talking about? So that's equipment, money, financing, for me to get to the financial position where I can afford that kind of stuff and hire the expertise to teach me and or do it. Or
one day we'll get there.
Yeah. I mean, for us to be a hub, maybe we could just be a flow through point for different things. So maybe certain connections, which I have been developing, but they're using the biomass. Yeah, but there's like, do you mean the mycelial biomass or the fruit body biomass? At John's forearm, what kind of structures are we talking about? Do you all buy property and build or lease some warehouses to grow? I must have missed something. I think it's just to stretch it. I mean, yeah, that's what I think. The mycelial extractions are just to stretch it. I'm using fruit bodies. That's the biggest thing I think that's going to be the best way to go. Did you have light in incubation when you had that beautiful maitake fruit through the filter patch? Yes. Yeah, the light that's behind us is always on. I probably should start turning them off at night, but I haven't yet. You know what? Let's hit one more sponsor. Imagine a world where the most unique, rare, and powerful mushroom strains are preserved, studied, and shared with growers like you. That's exactly what we're building with the Mycology, a living archive of fungal biodiversity, sourced from the wild, expanded in the lab, and made available for researchers, growers, and curious minds alike. But here's the best part. You can be a part of it. If you're a bioprospector, a forager, or just someone who loves finding cool mushrooms in the wild, you can send in your samples. If you send me in a wild mushroom and I can successfully clone it, I'll send you back a cleaned up culture of it. If you send me a culture that you've already cleaned up yourself, I'll send you one for our library, ready to grow, experiment with, or add to your collection. That's right. Culture for culture. You help expand the library, and you get something amazing in return. The goal? To preserve fungal diversity, to give people access to new genetics, and maybe, just maybe, to discover something truly groundbreaking. So if you've got an interesting mushroom, a rare find, or a strain that deserves a place in the archives, send it in. Let's build something incredible together. The Mycology, preserving fungal biodiversity, one culture at a time. Want to learn more? Hit us up, shoot us a message, and let's keep spawning culture, y'all. I guess it is. For those of you who don't know, P.F. Patrick is Charles. So
fair, everyone else is advocating for you too, Charles.
It's true. We have a couple of things that I want to hit. And I see some questions here. I do want to hit those as well. We've got a package here that Samantha wants to unbox in front of you guys. Oh my gosh, I've forgotten to announce 2 or 3 times this whole thing. I have at least 2 more weeks in April to book up for our mentorships. Because we're down to the wire on scheduling for those, if you want to get a mentorship for 50% off, it's first come, first serve. I have 2 weeks left in April that I'm willing to do 50% off on just to get them booked so I can stop worrying about booking stuff. I like to have it booked out a couple months in advance.
We do have 2 very close Airbnbs that are literally like a walk down.
Yeah, like literally the last week, Bo just walked here. So, well, you know, you don't want it spoiled. So the mentorships, guys, you know, if you know anybody who wants to do a mentorship, please let them know. I'd like to get these 2 weeks. Go ahead and get them booked up. So 50% off. We did have 4 as of yesterday, and 2 are booked up. So 50% off. I mean, that means you get everything with it. Still get a +1 for free to bring with you, but it's $1,000 instead of $2,000. So you save $1,000, which is a pretty big thing. Could a camper be parked by the building for the mentorship? I could work something out for you. I think I'd have to have I'm not sure. We'd have to figure out the electrical water hookups. If you can boondock it, all the better. If you can boondock it, absolutely. I can let you just park in front of my camper. If you need water and electric, I can do water easier than I can do electric. So if you got a solar panel, or if it's solar ready, you might even be able to use my solar panel.
Yeah, we don't have a dump site or anything else like that either. Someone
you
brought their RV. They parked at Panther Creek State Park and then just drove over. And they've got all the amenities. We do
like
not.
bathhouse and fire pits and all that kind of stuff. So Panther Creek's a good place. There might be some other places if you need to park a camper that we can work out or help you find, because I know a few places around here. That said, let's, Samantha, go ahead and pull up what you're going to pull up there. I'm going to hit this real quick with Jacob. Did you have light and incubation when you had that beautiful? Oh, yes. What?
You get the other side.
How's the Sawdust LC to subtest going? Great. And is it comparable to Grain Spawn? It is taking off faster than any LC I've ever seen. Was that gallon jar that became 20 AE and 7 KBO? Why the higher Enoch rate for the oyster? The oyster was actually from an experiment of its own as well, which was a smaller container, so it was not a higher rate. You guys should buy some reishi so Mr. and Mrs. Mossy can eat spaghetti tonight. Meatballs are expensive. I agree. Get you some. Use code reishi20 to save 20% off on your purchases.
Oh, goodness.
Also, buy stuff from Cell Treat, who just sent us a cool package we're going to unbox. 25% off your orders with them. It works multiple times. And you're talking Mossy 2025 for that code. House of Hydro, code Mossy. You get $50 worth of free discs with your order. Plant Cell Tech, use code Mossy. And you get 10% off your orders with Plant Cell Tech if you're into plant tissue culture. So if you need media or anything like that, work it.
And the box they sent us is full of the free gifts. And I would like to do some giveaways with these as well. So
yeah. PF Hattrick is right. Panther Creek is great. It's one of my favorite spots.
It's a beautiful area. We do a lot of bioprospecting there.
Absolutely. Use iodine rubs on back for Good Hill. Ooh, the platies. The platypuses from Cell Treats, little mascots. So we got some of that. In the words of the lyrical genius, Jay, I spend more rhymes than a lazy Susan. I'm innocent until my guilt is proven. So these are actually, the reason why I'm getting a little small ones, these are bioreaction tubes. They have, I know it's hard to see, but they have filters discs built into them. They're already sterile, and these are the self-standing ones versus the concave tubes. Are these also these are also bioreaction tubes?
Yeah, I was curious.
These are the big difference is that these are get the point on the bottom, whereas these have the point they have the stand.
I like the stand better. That way you can just, that's just
teach his own. Then we have, t-shirts.
Oh, and it has the breast cancer ribbon, which is what my mama had.
That's super cool.
She defeated it, by the way.
She did. It went into remission. Ooh. Get cultured. Cell Treat.
Oh, I love that
really
one.
hope this is mine. She asked for my size. 2XL. This is for me.
Hey. Well, how fitting is that I get the one to represent Mom. Oh, you not let that fall?
I'm not.
Thank you.
Biologist. Take selfies.
This one's awesome. Nice. And of course, they always send a book.
They always send a catalog. Well, that's because so they've said that they'll send any of my viewers samples as well. So if you order from them, you'll get this stuff. We have cell straining pestles. So this is for working with cell strainers, which are right here. We have some cell strainers, which is an interesting thing that I've been wanting to play with for small amounts of LC.
Now, I have seen a lot of people do slants in these smaller ones.
I see the thing I'm most excited about.
Oh, yeah?
Hold on. Before we get to what I'm most excited about. So here you go. Some media bottles. I've been actually wanting to have some nice big plastic media bottles.
And these are autoclavable?
No, this is PET. but this is already sterilized.
Yeah.
It's so you can put sterile media into it. PET actually. PET is polyethylene. Forgotten. Melting point of PET. Polyethylene terephthalate is around. So this is autoclavable. This is autoclavable indeed. So it's reusable. Okay, guys, this is what I'm most excited about because of all the extracts we've been making.
Did you see the little one?
You can pick it up. Look at this. It's the vacuum filters. So I'll be able to just, instead of having to do a press or something like that to get my stuff filtered, I can actually run it through the vacuum filters. I've been wanting to use these for a while. Nice little stand to go with it. Man, I like the sample kit. Oh, that's like a small, a little centrifuge tube one? That's hilarious.
And my favorite pens. Like, this is the pen that I go after, the S-Gel ones. I love these.
Holy crap. So this is 0.45. Okay, I think the yellows are all 0.45. So that would be, I mean, you wouldn't want 0.22 because 0.22 would clog up really fast. And I bet this looks like it will screw right on top of the media bottles. So that'd be interesting. So that is our little sample kit we got. These are things I asked for specifically to play with for, like I said, the extracts, but also I want bioreaction tubes for some of the plant cell culture to have the deep well for a plant to grow into. Put some agar in the bottom and then a little plant media and then just grow your plant all the way up to the top. You'll be able to remove it with forceps. So that's what I want to play with those. But they also had some other ideas about that. But yeah, so that's super cool. I really would be nice to filter, sterilize amino acids. That's actually a really interesting idea. So doing the pH farming with a pH, farming pharmaceuticals.
Nice.
And that octopus is going on my toolbox.
So I mentioned giveaways, and then I was like, oh, I really want to stick it on my computer, but then
Nobody's getting the octopus. That's mine. But yeah, guys, so that's pretty cool. I'm pretty stoked that arrived today. I also had yesterday some experimental bottles show up that we're going to play with for liquid culture. So we're going to have a nice episode on liquid culture coming up soon. Next week, we actually have... who's going to be with us next week, Samantha? Do you remember?
Can you grab the other side, lower it down together?
Yep.
Thank you.
Who's coming on next week?
I don't know. You've got a whole lineup, and I'm
I
not
was
sure
hoping
who said yes.
So, guys, this is really exciting to me, and then we'll go. It looks like next week is Dr. Gordon Walker, which is fascinated by fungi.
Yeah.
I'm super excited to have him on. The week after that is Jake Howard of the Mushroom Shop LLC. He'll actually be in studio with us, so that's going to be exciting. And if you don't know about Jake Howard, he does some crazy stuff. So we're going to have him. And then I just got word we're going to have Eugenia Bone, the author of Mycophilia, on. She said yes to April 3rd. So April 3rd, we're going to have Eugenia Bone with us, which what a cool ass name too, right? Like that's just the coolest. But she'll be on with us as well. So the weeks in between Jake Howard and Eugenia Bone, we'll probably have an LC episode. So tune in for that as well. So we got a lot of cool stuff coming on. When is Paul Stamets coming on? As soon as he knows who the hell I am. I don't think he's ever heard of me. I don't think he could care too much. You guys even remember, like, sure, my YouTube channel's got like 60,000 subscribers. Not quite, almost. But my Instagram's only like, it's sub 10,000. So you have to remember that I'm a tiny guy. I look big, but I'm definitely a tiny guy. In the YouTube space, there's a lot of guys with way bigger channels than mine. So, thank you for the show. I finished all my FFU work while listening. Time for bed. Well, I'm gonna go eat, and we do have to jump off there. So, you'd be surprised how many people know who you all are. Well, my bank account does not represent that. So,
true.
That said, I don't know. It did surprise me when I went to the Oklahoma Mushroom Festival. It did surprise me how many people recognized me. So Gary is going to be on. Gary from Fresh from the Farm Fungi has agreed to be on. So has Ryan Paul Gates of Terrestrial Fungi. I don't remember who else, guys. We got a lot of heavy hitters coming on this year.
Score on, but we've talked about the time.
Please, Ed did it for us, and then Jake Wolves did it for us. So New Zealand can kiss it.
Oh,
Hilton Brian will come on. I'm sure he'd stay up till midnight.
Especially after that letter New Zealand gave us.
That's right. But yeah, Gary's going to be on. The big thing Gary's waiting on right now is a better internet connection to his studio, because right now he can upload videos, but live streams are really hard for him. So we're going to have him on. That's actually what held me back with Josh. We were going to have Josh on earlier, but Josh wanted to get his YouTube channel up before we started. And I think, I hope I'm the fire that was lit under his ass to get it up today. So
there's so many awesome and good people.
There are. Like, I want to
need attention, that need to be known. They need to be, and if there's anything that we can do whatsoever, and then there's also people that are already known that just, it's nice to sit there and have a sense of camaraderie and have a show on it and talk to each other, just, human via human,
Absolutely. I do. So we're going to have Gary. We're going to have a bunch of other people on. I'd like to have Sydney Over Singleton on at some point. I need to reach out back to him. He's a little hard to get a hold of.
It happens.
I can't even remember. There's so many people that I haven't even asked yet, and I'm trying to work through each way. I'm also working through some affiliates because there's a couple of sponsors I'm working on for the show right now. Cell Treat was my first. Yeah, Cell Treat was kind of my first introduction to a corporation supporting us.
It's been amazing.
It is, but it took time to set up. Corporations move slower. Like at House of Hydro, it was like, can I get a code? Yeah, here's a code. But all that kind of stuff. So
Desert Moon.
I definitely want Desert Moon on.
Cactus Hat.
I want Cactus Hat. Joe has said he'll be on. The guys, there's just so many incredible people that'll be joining us over the years. So I really appreciate it. We need to figure out a way to, I feel like people come to the YouTube channel, they don't really see the live. The YouTube does not push the live streams, the previous ones. So I don't know, even people, there are probably tons of people who don't even know about the show that I'd like to get on there. So keep spawning great beards, y'all. Well, Samantha has a hard time with that.
I'll try. Oh, hey.
There you go.
There
See?
we go.
That's a good dwarven beard. You look like a good dwarven lady. Can you wear your hair like that tonight?
Oh my God.
So many questions, but I feel better about my eyes and ears listening. So happy to catch a live episode. Thank you. Absolutely. Y'all, it's been a great time. The great thing about the show, I probably could run it a little bit better to make money off of it, but the big thing for me is just geeking out with a bunch of people that I respect. So I appreciate you guys making it a thing for us. If you want some of the best gourmet genetics, you want to subscribe to the Mycologium, because we're, by the way, shutting down the Patreon, which is why nobody got charged this time. And the Patreon will be shut down as of this month, and we're going to a subscription based. We also, if for anyone who is wondering why you haven't got your Patreon reward yet, we had a lot to work through. So the last of those are getting shipped out next week. So if you have not received your Patreon reward, it is coming. It is leaving our facility next week.
And we do tend to ship quarterly. If
we do.
If you get
but we got behind with the sickness, so
per month,
Yeah.
and then you get 4 syringes for the quarter. It's just there's a lot of people who seem to like it better that way.
Absolutely. So with that, guys, we got a lot of cool things coming on. I'll try to do a better job about doing some of the announcements next week. I might have to start having the guest on for 2 hours, and then us having at least an hour, because all the announcements and the other stuff is just, it's a lot to cram in on top of a guest. So
We're outnumbered.
Absolutely, we're outnumbered. We love y'all. We appreciate y'all.
Yes.
And with that, y'all.
Keep spawning culture.
Oh, crap. I almost had a cough come in. Let's try that again. And with that, y'all, keep spawning culture. Good